It is Tuesday, and thank you for joining us or staying with us here on WCNC Plus. It's Live Impact News. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene Bragg is back from vacation. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. How was vacation?
It's great.
You
Great
were
time.
off on Labor Day. You were off on Friday.
Yeah,
Nice.
I didn't labor. I wasn't here Friday. Yeah, I did all of the things.
Oh man, did you go to the pool?
I didn't go to the pool. That's the one thing I didn't do. I did not splish splash, but I did. I went bowling. I went to bingo. I went to the Whitewater Center. I went to Darlington to watch NASCAR. I was here, there, and everywhere.
You hear that, Jeb? There's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff. I don't hear pool in any of those activities.
I didn't splish splash.
Glad to have Carlene back. Jeb is here in studio. All right, so let's get to it. We have a lot going on, a lot happening live. I feel like just things just kind of popped up live.
Sure.
But before we get to that, we want to check on the forecast. It's important because another beautiful day.
Great over the weekend. Feels great now.
How long will the good times last?
We'll see.
Weather-wise.
We'll see.
We'll see. Chris Mulcahy is here with your full forecast.
The biggest difference that we have compared to yesterday are these. We're dealing with more clouds today, not anticipating any rain, so just additional cloud cover. So as I was saying for our weather recipe, you just take yesterday, sprinkle some additional clouds, and let it sit and rise into the lower 80s. Easy peasy, right? It's going to be a great day, but still feeling like it's a little bit later on in September 22nd to be precise. Looking at the climatology, that's actually the first day of fall, y'all. So definitely dealing with that more fall-like weather. And it's also a little bit on the humid side for some of us. The day yesterday was perfect. Everything was in the green, very nice. Today is still a decent range, still feels great, but you're going to start to notice a difference, especially by tomorrow. So enjoy the drier air while we have it. We're still anticipating these values to drop a little bit further, so still feeling great, and then we're getting closer and closer to that humid threshold by about this time tomorrow. Now, look where our humid trend was yesterday. In the 40s, that's just bone dry, and that's why yesterday was the pick of the week. But hey, today's still not too bad. It was a close second, and the How You Feel cast shows that we have a gradual climb back to that sticky range, and by Thursday and Friday, we're calling it uncomfortable again. We're calling that air you can wear, where that summertime humidity makes a comeback. That's also going to add to some of our rain chances. We have an isolated chance for Wednesday, Thursday more so a thunderstorm chance, and then Saturday and Sunday we're going to have some lingering activity as well. So here's what's going down. We have this little wave off towards the west that's going to push this wave further to the east. That's going to give us a rain chance tomorrow, and then one of these guys, one of these troughs and fronts, is going to push a little bit closer, allowing for a better chance for thunderstorms on your Thursday. But I don't even need to show you the futurecast today, so let's move on. By tomorrow morning, we're anticipating a little bit of rain up in the high country and some clouds to start to increase. So don't be surprised if it is a cloudier morning tomorrow. This rain pushes closer to the Charlotte area by the early afternoon, but watch, it dissipates. This happens all the time. So oftentimes when you have rain right up the mountain slope, it's called orographic lifting, it causes some rain. But then when it goes down the other side, it starts to decrease. So I think you could see rain as far east as Hickory to maybe Statesville, but I don't think it's making it as far south as Charlotte. I still kept a 20% chance that we could have some of these showers survive a little bit further off towards the east, more so during your Wednesday evening. And then for your Thursday afternoon, heading into the evening, a few storms. I'm really only talking about a handful of storms that will be popping up in the map. Most of us will stay dry though. Now I want to head over to the tropics, and the main point that I want to make here is that we are starting to see things build a little bit. We're going to see a lot more of these waves, and it's this time of year that even a low pressure system off the shore could be an area of interest and quickly start to turn into a tropical cyclone. This one likely over the next 2 to 7 days. I would say day 4 to 5 is a little bit more likely heading into the weekend that we could be calling this Tropical Storm Gabrielle. And then once it gets a little bit closer, about that 8 to 11 day time frame, it's going to be closer to the Lesser Antilles. But as of right now, things are forecasted to turn more out to sea. So our 7-day forecast, it's really the tale of two seasons. We have the lower 80s today, feel more fall-like, or the end of September, and then we ramp right back up to the 90s. It's not unusual to have the 90s on and off through September. Actually, the average last 90-degree day is usually around September 12th, but then boom, right back to the lower 80s. So up and down, up and down.
All right, so that is a look at the forecast. Okay, so we want to go to something live. As I promised, we have a lot going on. Let's go over to Chicago, Illinois, where the mayor there is holding a press conference. This is the 211 Metro Chicago Exchange ribbon cutting. We heard from Mayor Brandon Johnson earlier. We're hearing from other officials. Let's take a listen in to what's being said right now.
Hola, no kidding. Good morning, everyone. To President Preckwinkle, Mayor Johnson, Alderperson, Chairwoman Rodriguez Sanchez, Commissioners Anaya Degnan, and who else is here? McCaskill. Thank you all for coming, and all distinguished members of the Cook County Board joining us this morning. I'd also like to give thanks to Ms. Cherie Lee, Mr. Greg Mooney, Mr. Sean Garrett, and the leaders of the Comer Science Education Foundation, 211 Metro Chicago, Exchange Chicago, and the United Way. It's a great day in the 5th Ward, y'all. And it is such a joy to bear witness with you today, the latest step in the revitalization of Greater Grand Crossing. Exchange Chicago and 211 Metro Chicago breathe new life into this neighborhood and give new meaning and new opportunities to each of our neighbors, and for that we're grateful. Look at what's been done here, and look at what it will deliver. Technology training, something so desperately needed in this community. This training will naturally generate hundreds of high-growth jobs and for newly skilled Greater Grand Crossing residents. And lastly, for high-performing businesses, whether MBE, WBE, DBE, or VBE, Greater Grand Crossing is the spot for growth opportunities and new business hubs. And that's all right here in the 5th Ward. Along with these tangibles, they're what I'd call immeasurables, right? Things we can't really count, but we'll feel. Exchange and 211 Metro Chicago give Greater Grand Crossing residents a new sense of pride and hope and power. And this is what's possible when community, government, business, nonprofits, foundations, and others all come together to do what's necessary to create beautiful and thriving communities. And for that, I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to SCDI Presence, P33, United Way, and all of our community partners for this investment in Black communities. So with that, I'd like to bring up my colleagues on the other side of the building from Cook County Board. We'll go in alphabetical order, so Commissioner Alma Anaya, please come. Thank you.
Good morning. It is a special day indeed. I'm extremely excited to be here. My name is Alma and I am Cook County Commissioner of the Southwest side of the city of Chicago. I represent a majorly Latino district, a majorly immigrant district, and it is wonderful to kind of see when a lot of the projects actually come and we're in a space where we're finally celebrating the beauty of it. So I have the privilege of being the Vice Chair of the Health and Hospitals Committee, the Chair of Labor, and the Vice Chair of Business and Economic Development at the county. And I say that because a lot of the work in regards to labor, the workforce, the community vitality, the importance of healthcare access, housing, all of that is bread and butter to what the county has been doing in the last few years, not only during the pandemic, but I will say under Madam President's leadership the last 15 years. And the celebration today is that one piece to create that stability that so many community members need. Because when you're in a rocky place and it seems like the world around you is collapsing and you don't know where to turn, or when you don't know what exactly you could step into and what door you need to figure out how to open and where to go, a call and a referral is a lifeline. A call, a referral, a kind word, Cherie, I know you know that. The dignity that is brought into this building and out into Cook County is what is a lifeline in the long run. And I can't tell you how many times, Alderwoman Rodriguez, I know what you're talking about. I know when constituents come to us crying, not knowing where to turn and what to do in a situation. We see it with our neighbors, we see it with our constituents, but maybe some of us have lived it through, right? You know, I often talk about my mom being a single mom of 4, us having to go through homelessness, us not really knowing what to do, and I can't tell you what that resources and what the exchange is bringing forward could have done to our families, and that's happening constantly. And yes, our safety nets are under attack constantly, so it is extremely important for us to step up, be brave, and do everything in our power to ensure that the collaboration continues, that the work continues, and the success stories continues, because ultimately that's why we're here, because we want to see the success stories, and we want to ensure that places like this where compassion, love are at the core of it continue to flourish here in the city of Chicago and of course in the county of Cook. Hola, buenas, ya casi tardes. Me llamo Alma Anaya, soy comisionada del 7º Distrito del Condado de Cook. Y hoy sí es un día muy especial porque abriendo las puertas y de un edificio como estos y los recursos, continuándolos en esta forma, es lo que va a cambiar a nuestras comunidades. Es lo que va a traer ese apoyo tan necesario a todas nuestras comunidades. Porque cuando una persona se sienta que no tiene los recursos, no tiene a dónde voltear o con quién ir o con quién acudir, cosas malas continúan pasando a esa persona. Y nosotros, con la colaboración que estamos hoy celebrando con la ciudad en el condado, es algo que va a salvar vidas. Y va a traer muchos recursos que tienen que estar accesibles a nuestras comunidades. Y por eso hoy celebramos, porque hoy es una celebración de lo que se puede hacer cuando hay esa colaboración con la ciudad y con el condado y con muchos de los que están hoy día. And now I'd like to bring my colleague, Bridget Degnan, up to share a few words.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bridget Degnan, and I am the Cook County Commissioner for the 12th District, which covers parts of Chicago's north and northwest sides. But I know that we all know that when you fall on hard times or that you need help, it doesn't matter what ward you're in, what county district, what block. What matters is that you have help, and access to services, which makes me so thrilled to be here today for the grand opening and ribbon cutting of the new 211 Metro Chicago Contact Center at Exchange Chicago. With this new center, many more people will be referred to life-changing and life-saving services. Many more people will be housed, more people will be fed, and lives will be saved. I think the people that know me here today know that I'm terrible at sugarcoating negatives. So I will say that I see every single day, I read news and see social media reports that some people want us to move towards being a heartless nation, cutting all programs that support those in need. Many of those people are running the federal government. But locally, we can and will help improve and reverse reckless policy outcomes of the federal administration. We are our neighbors' keepers, and it is on us to provide social safety nets and resources to connect people to it. If we don't, we're failing at our number one obligation, which is to keep residents safe. Locally, we must provide an environment that includes policies that don't punish people in need. And that's why today is so important. Everybody here today, the people of Chicago, the people of Cook County, have heart. I see it, we all see it everywhere we go. People are ready to step up and help others. And that's what the county and the city and we are all here today doing, helping expand the 211 Metro Chicago Service for Full helpline. Since its launch over 2 years ago, 211 has referred over 180,000 people to life-changing services. Make no mistake, this is life-changing work. It's life-saving work. But we must do more at the local and the state level to increase the supply of basic living necessities so that when people call and need housing, providers can deliver. We know more people call about housing than any other issue. This year, approximately 60% of the calls have been about housing. And the cost of local housing here outpaces the national housing cost by a multiplier of 3 to 4. We must take an all-government approach to build more housing and make it available to everyone who needs it. I applaud the city of Chicago, who has done a ton to reduce red tape. And I applaud the county and Madam President to help build and convert housing for the unhoused, the modular home project, and our mortgage down payment assistance program. Today I want to especially thank the United Way of Metro Chicago President and CEO Sean Garrett, my colleagues here today, President Preckwinkle, Sochi Flores, and Dominic Tossi of the Bureau of Economic Development and their many dedicated staff, and all those at the City of Chicago, the mayor and the aldermen here today. The people who, most importantly, are answering the phone lines, the chats, and the emails providing life-saving referrals. And specifically, the county has supported NAMI, which is the National Association for Mental Illness, and so many other mental and behavioral health supports through its hospital system to support people in a holistic way. I encourage you, if you haven't already, to visit 211metrochicago.org to learn more, and if you need it, call 211 to get referred for a range of life-changing services. You can also text your zip code to 898-211 or email at info@211metrochicago.org with specific questions. Thank you so much, and I would like to next introduce the 211 Metro Chicago Resource Navigator.
Why don't you get Commissioner McCaskill?
Oh, and Commissioner McCaskill, apologies. Thank you, come on up.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Dr. Keisha McCaskill. I am your 5th District Cook County Commissioner. So I'm happy to say I got 5 on it too. We got 5 on it. So, but good morning. This is a very important and very, it's it just overjoys me that we're coming together in partnership with the leadership actually demonstrating the good governance that we so often speak about. It warms the hearts of our neighbors when they can actually see that we're putting our efforts where we actually speak. So when we talk about the different programs that are available, if they don't know they exist, then they really don't exist. They are only lucrative if they're being utilized. So I want to thank all of our leadership that are here, my president, Tony Preckminkle, Mayor Brandon Johnson, our alder people, our commissioners, and all of the staff, because you are the foundation of how well this organization.
Okay, so you're listening to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. You're listening and watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovan. Right there, that's a live shot out of Chicago, Illinois, as leaders there have a ribbon cutting and speak about and speak at the 211 Metro Exchange. All right, so we're going to step aside from that. Let's take a quick break, a 2-minute break, I promise. We'll be back in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News. All right. Thank you for staying with us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovan. Carlene is here. Jeb is here. All right. Let's go to something live. We were in Chicago earlier. Do we want to go out to California? That's happening. So right now, happening now, this is a live look. California's lieutenant governor, labor groups, and San Francisco elected officials are rallying in support of Supervisor Mahmoud's resolution endorsing Proposition 50, which is known as the Election Rigging Response Act. Let's listen in to what's being said right now.
That's what we're fighting for. And California is going to do this the right way. We've drawn maps. These are fair. They kept communities together. And voters will have the final say. But in order for voters to have the final say, we need them to come out on November 4th. So we need every single person here to not only come out and vote, we need to tell you need to tell your friends, you need to tell your family members, because this is not a normal election. This is a special election. We don't usually have in an off year like this an election. And there's one issue on the ballot, and it's one question on the ballot, Proposition 50. And this could not be more important for our state and for our democracy and for our future. So every single one of us and every single San Franciscan and every single Californian needs to commit to turn out on November 4th and vote yes on Prop 50. Are we going to get this done? Give it up again for Supervisor Mahmoud, our Lieutenant Governor, and all of the elected officials who are here. We are united with one voice. Yes on Prop 50. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember Haney. When we talk about state leaders, we have one of our very own from San Francisco who is watching over financial accountability, dispersing payments, and administering payroll for nearly 300,000 state workers. She sees the direct fiscal impact that the Trump administration has had on California. Please welcome Controller Malia Cohen.
Thank you. Good morning. As I was preparing my thoughts for what I wanted to say, I wanted to take a moment and speak directly to the president. I want Donald Trump to realize that he is messing with the wrong people, that the state of California is organized, she's thoughtful, and she's courageous. Just by show of courage of the folks of here today, this is only San Francisco. You see, what we are doing is we are organizing up and down the state, urban, suburban, agricultural communities, rural communities, the coastal communities. Everyone is organizing to stand up and fight back and say no. So, Mr. Trump, I want you to understand that you've picked the wrong people to mess with. We are not going to stand idly by and let you trounce our democracy. We are here to fight, and we are going to get Prop 50 passed this November, and we're going to send a message to not just Mr. Trump, but to every single Republican that thinks that they're going to mess with democracy. Today's not the day. Today we show strength, today we show courage, and today we fight on. Thank you.
Controller Cohen makes sure that nobody thinks that numbers are boring. She has so much fire, and I love her for that. Our next speaker represents the orange shirts that you see up here. Not just the orange shirts, but the people behind those shirts. 30,000 laborers in California, in Northern California. And as the chair of the Democratic Party, I've expressed many times that there is no Democratic Party without organized labor. Please welcome Vince Carduner.
I just want to know, are there any laborers in the house? And to our other labor sponsors, thank you very much, Chair Tong. Thank you for having me today. I'm hoping that we can see this two separate ways. It's complicated, but it's simple. For those of you who play chess, you know that when you take a pawn, you lose a pawn. And that's what we're doing here. It's not that complicated. Texas took 5. We're going to take 5 back. We simply have to visualize being successful. We need to re-energize the party with a re-energized and laser-focused labor movement. No more games, no more nonsense, laser focus. Visualize a wave, visualize success, and then we can build trust, build a reputation, and stop talking about what's a high road and what's a low road. There's no fucking rules anymore, guys. So we gotta fight together, win together, and do it with each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vince. Appreciate you. Also wanted to make sure that we acknowledge unions that are here supporting Prop 50 as well. LIUNA, SEIU Local 87, Operating Engineers Local 3, Teamsters Local 665, and IBEW Local 6. I also want to take a moment and talk about Democratic Party unity. Sometimes in our efforts to be the party of the big tent, we as Democrats find ourselves debating amongst ourselves about what it means to be a true Democrat and what issues define our Democratic Party, especially in San Francisco. But now is not the time for petty infighting. Now is the time for unity. The nation is looking at us in California and especially in San Francisco to see how we unify as a Democratic Party. And really, I think it's time for us to just say no more from Republicans, no more from the Trump administration, and unify as a Democratic Party to pass Proposition 50 at the ballot this November. Let's put up a new blue wall on the West Coast to protect our democracy. And thank you to all of the members of the San Francisco Democratic Party Central Committee for being with us here today. And members.
All right, so this is a live look out of San Francisco, California, as leaders there in San Francisco and state leaders talk about and endorse Proposition 50, also known as the Election Rigging Response Act there. All right, so let's take a step away from that. We want to go to break. We'll be back in just 2 minutes right here on Live Impact News. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Okay, so we want to get to a story that we've been following since this morning. You probably saw it on our morning show, morning stream. Also here during our 9 to 11 stream, we've been updating you. And we'll continue to update you. And we're talking about a homicide investigation that is continuing in North Charlotte. Police investigating a homicide at Beatty's Ford Road and Hyde Park Drive in North Charlotte. That's where WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris is. Miles is following the story. So Miles, catch us up. What do you know so far?
Yeah, well, Nick, we know that investigators are really still trying to piece together what exactly happened this morning out here in this neighborhood. But we do know that investigators, they were called out to the scene here around 6:30 this morning to perform a welfare check. Now, we got a chance to talk to some of the neighbors out in this community, and they actually told us, one of the neighbors that told us that they called 911 after hearing at least 10 shots in this neighborhood. I want to go ahead and step to the side a little bit, though, too, is as you can actually see, this neighborhood is actually clear, the street's clear, but this area, that specific spot that our photographer Tony is zooming in on here, was filled with crime tape. It was filled with investigators, and it was also filled with a lot of neighbors asking questions as far as figuring out exactly what happened here. Now, we do know that neighbors, they heard those gunshots when they came out. They had actually seen a body actually out onto the road here. That's where investigators pronounced that this was a homicide in this case. We know that there was also an ATV out on the roadway as well, and we know that that ATV does play a factor into this investigation. But as far as the details with that, that's something that we're also still figuring out and learning, Nick, at this time. As far as a suspect in this case, we know that investigators, they are still looking for a suspect. No arrest has been made as well, Nick. But again, that is some of the latest information that we have been able to gather from investigators and even neighbors at this hour.
Yeah, still a lot of questions in this case, Miles. In limited details as well. You can catch Miles at 4 and 5. Miles, thank you for your time. Be safe out there, man.
I appreciate you, Nick. Thank you.
All right. So again, you can catch Miles at 4 and 5 o'clock this afternoon with a look on this story. Okay, so let's move on now. Again, that was an update from Miles. We want to send it back out to California. This is a big issue here in California. We're talking about Proposition 50, also known as the Election Rigging Response Act. This is all in response to what has happened, what is happening in Texas as far as redrawn congressional maps. And this is California's response there from leaders in California. This is a look at leaders not only from San Francisco, this is where the news conference is happening, but also state leaders in California. So let's take a listen in. Let's tune back into what's being said right now.
Loved ones be taken by masked men. Not just as they move about, but even those who are following the law by going to immigration court to get their legal status here. Again, he's not about the law. He's not about order. How many of us are sick and tired of seeing what he's doing across our country with deploying our military against our citizens? We've made it clear we don't need the military to have public safety. We are a demonstration of how democratic leadership can get it right on the issue of public safety. We don't need his help. And so today is about making sure that we do fight back, that we take that feeling of helplessness, of powerlessness, and find our power, find our ability to help one another across this country fight against what he's doing. And so yes, we must not only mobilize with each other, we must mobilize our neighbors, we must mobilize our friends, we must mobilize those who probably haven't voted in years and who right now feel unmotivated to fill out a ballot because they don't think that their voice is being heard. We must remind them that this is how we win. This is how you make your voice heard, so that we can make sure that we have checks and balances in this country, because that's what's been destroyed as well. We have a country that is founded on making sure that we can check the power of our leaders. And when we see what has happened, not only is it in our legislature, it's in our courts. No one is checking what this man is doing. And now it's time for California to check what he's doing. So thank you, I stand with you. Let's keep up this fight.
Thank you, District Attorney Brooke Jenkins. I wanted to next it's Tuesday. I wanted to acknowledge the members of the Board of Supervisors who are standing with us today. Board President Raphael Mandelman. Supervisor Matt Dorsey. Supervisor Cheyenne Chen. Supervisor Stephen Sherrill. Supervisor Danny Souter. And also elected School Board Commissioner Parag Gupta. And Daly City Mayor Jesslyn Manalo. So now Trump came out early attacking our LGBTQ plus community, particularly the transgender community. But the state's largest LGBTQ plus organization has been fighting back from the beginning and was one of the first organizations to endorse Proposition 50. Please welcome Equality California Board Vice President Jane Natoli.
Hi, I'm the Vice President of the Equality California Board of Directors. Equality California is the largest statewide LGBTQ plus civil rights organization in the country. Every day, we're proud to work for LGBTQ plus rights here in California and all across the United States, striving to create a world that's healthy, just, and fully equal for all LGBTQ plus people. We're proud to support Prop 50 as we are acutely aware of the dangers vulnerable communities like ours face in the current environment. It's important to remember that we're here in this moment because conservatives are rigging the 2026 midterms in their favor. They're trying to consolidate power all across the United States. It's vital that we push back and do what we can here in California, what we can do to take control of the House and block the Trump administration's anti-LGBTQ plus efforts. We've already seen the attacks. Trump threatens vulnerable people everywhere. His administration has especially stepped up the attacks on vulnerable communities like the trans community, and definitely on trans youth, even here in California. We cannot sit by idly and just expect things to turn around. We cannot be silent in this crucial moment. Make no mistake, the 2026 midterms are a critical election, and this is an important step to ensuring we send as many pro-equality legislators to Washington as we can to fight in California and nationwide. This is a move that's going to energize our base. I think we're already seeing that right now. We're fired up. We're bringing so many people together. It's a profoundly consequential election, so California must take bold action to give democracy a fighting chance. Of course, we can't do this alone. While we can neutralize Texas's efforts here, many other red states are contemplating efforts to also try and rig the election. But we need to lead the way in California. We need to show states like New York and New Jersey and Maryland and Illinois how it's done. We need to give them the energy to also fight back. We must lead in California in this moment. So I just want to close in saying thank you to Supervisor Mahmoud for leading in San Francisco on this resolution to support Prop 50. Thank you to all the other elected leaders here. It really means a lot to see so much of our elected leaders and our community leaders pushing back and fighting here. Now more than ever, with our rights on the line, we must stand up. Yes, this is an unprecedented action, but we live in unprecedented times. It's not business as usual. We can't just pretend it is. For the sake of our LGBTQ plus community and for every other community under attack, we must pass Prop 50. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. A few more shout outs from our Democratic Party. Fourth Vice Chair Emma Hare is also with us today. And then from our Democratic clubs that have supported this rally today, the Alice B. Toklas LGBT Club, the Eastern Neighborhoods Democratic Club, the Brownie Mary Democratic Club, the organization Black Citizen, and is there anyone else that I've missed from elected to organizations? Well, very good. So, the woman I'm going to introduce next is really emblematic of the future of the Democratic Party. Not only is she the co-president of the San Francisco Women's Political Committee, but she is a leader who helps mentor youth in our high schools and universities and pushes back on these federal attacks on women, our youth, and our country. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Alondra Esquivel Garcia.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right back there? Yeah? Yeah, we love it. We love it. I'm Alondra Esquivel Garcia. As mentioned, I currently serve as the co-president for the San Francisco Women's Political Committee. We are an organization that uplifts policies that solve issues for women and families, not just in San Francisco, but across California. And we support individuals running for office who embrace being intersectional feminists in San Francisco. Not gonna lie, it gives me a little bit of anxiety coming and speaking after so many of our great elected officials that I admire. But I
I will make sure that I will make this through. I'm here today not truly just to speak on the different titles that I have, but as an angry young person who is just so frustrated and angry with this current administration. This past weekend, I kept trying to think to myself, what am I going to talk about, especially in regards to Prop 50? I feel like every day there's a new headline, not just about Texas rigging votes from the black and brown communities that we know so clear, but also just everything that's happening across the world and how that affects people like me, young people like me who have so many years to come. At first, I was so fearful just being at home, seeing all these new headlines of like, what am I going to do? What is my community going to do? Just seeing how black and brown voices, their vote being stripped away in Texas, seeing my friends' votes being stripped away by this Texas legislature. But, you know, their trust is being ripped away. And I knew that in California, we had to step up. My fear became anger. My anger has become action. I have spent the last 2 weeks calling folks across California, across the United States, being like, what the hell are we doing? Where are we walking? Where are we phone banking? Which labor unions are we working with? What is the Democratic Party doing? I know a lot of us have our own opinions about Prop 50 and how it became to be, but this is so much bigger than all of us. It's bigger than what our state is doing. It's bigger than our community. It's bigger than us as individual voters. This is not just the beginning or the end. It's just the beginning, the end of the beginning. We have criticized our own party to do something, and we're now finally doing something about it. We now have the opportunity for our voting bloc to show the rest of our country and the world that we mean business and that we ain't just standing around in our comfortable San Francisco. Take this as a wake-up call. What are we gonna do? Are we just gonna stand by and do nothing, or are you gonna stand by me? Are you gonna stand with labor? Are you gonna stand with our communities who are being affected by this across the country, especially in Texas? We will only win if we commit to at least phone banking and door knocking weekly. Talking to your neighbors, talking to your family members, to your colleagues. Even the football season is coming. Talk to them during the 49ers game of Prop 50. We have 63 days left until Election Day. 30 days until mail-in ballots are being dropped in our mailboxes. At least commit to volunteering once a week until Election Day. Sign up to even be a poll worker. Our Department of Elections needs all the help that they can get so we can have the most highest voter turnout in a special election has seen in San Francisco. We're all hands on deck. Look around. If my friends can hold up, we have Yes on Prop 50 QR codes across. Please sign up. Our mobilizations are starting this weekend. If you sign up, we will truly see what democracy looks like. También necesitamos hablantes en español. Si tienes familia en otros condados que necesitan interpretaciones, necesitamos voluntarios. It's not just in English or in español. También, if you're speaking other languages, we truly need your support. Yes. Sorry. It's hot up here. I hope y'all have sunscreen. So thank you so much to everyone. I hope y'all have an amazing day, and please don't forget to volunteer at least weekly. We have 63 days left to save democracy here in the United States. Thank you. The future looks bright, I will tell you. And thank you to our other DCCC members, First Vice Chair Dan Calamucci, who is here with the NorCal Carpenters. And then also our state party delegates, Ruth Ferguson, Michael Santos, Ernesto Cuellar, and Dr. John Ma. Now we are very lucky to have Joe Cruz, the state director for LIUNA, California, with us today, representing 75,000 laborers across the state. Please welcome Brother Cruz.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Joe Cruz, and on behalf of 75,000 hardworking laborers in California, many of you are here today. Where's my laborers at? I want to thank the other crafts who made themselves available, the other unions who have come here today to join our fight for the Yes on Prop 50 campaign. You know what, folks? It's time to make the walls shake. It's time to make the ground tremble. It's time to let Donald Trump and his lapdog in Texas know you don't come after California. California doesn't step back, we step up.
That's right.
When the bell rings, we come out swinging.
That's right.
And we will not be denied this opportunity to do what's right. What Donald Trump, that crook, that liar, is attempting to do is steal an election. The very foundation of democracy was built on fair elections.
Here, here.
And that's going to be taken away from us if we don't step up and fight.
Yes.
So thank you again. This is just the beginning. We will not be denied. We will not be deterred. And we sure as fuck will not be defeated. So let's march to November, build this coalition out, and preserve democracy. California leads, the nation watches, and we will not be defeated. Thank you.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. Right there are leaders in California, labor group leaders, leaders in the city of San Francisco. They're speaking on Proposition 50, also known as the Election Rigging Response Act. All right, let's take a step away from that, and we want to go to break. We'll be back in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We'll be right back. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. Carlene's here. Jeb is here. The crew is here, and we have a lot going on this afternoon, including over in San Francisco, California. So leaders there, they've been speaking for a while now. If you've been watching this, you've been seeing this. So they are talking about the Election Rigging Response Act, also known as Proposition 50. Again, this is outside of City Hall in San Francisco, California. We heard from California's Lieutenant Governor. Also, there are labor groups there. This is in response to what's happening in Texas as far as the congressional maps being redrawn mid-year. Let's take a listen in to what's being said right now.
Very quickly putting this constitutional amendment on the ballot to make very clear that we are not going to back down, that we're going to fight and we're going to beat these people. So thank you, everyone. Let's fight and let's win.
Thank you, Senator Wiener. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to all of you.
What about a group photo, Nancy?
For doing a group photo together.
All right.
But let me just say this to the Republicans, to the MAGAs out there, to President Donald Trump. Don't poke the bear. We're coming for you. All right, thank you, everyone. Let's get together for a group photo.
All right, so they are taking a group photo there. Just to kind of give you an idea of what's happening, you have different groups there, labor groups, California Lieutenant Governor there, city leaders in San Francisco, all coming together to talk about Proposition 50 in response to the redrawing of congressional maps in Texas, which has been a big story across the country. And California leaders are reacting to what happened and what is happening in Texas and other parts of the country when it comes to congressional maps. All right, so let's step away from that and let's come back here at home. A beautiful day. It was a beautiful Labor Day.
It was nice.
Carlene, you mentioned it earlier, how the best you felt at a race at Darlington,
right?
In a long
I've been going the last probably 4 years or so for the Southern 500, and every year your face just melts off because
you didn't need shade. You didn't need shade at all.
I had shade. Luckily, I was in part of the track when I got. By the time I got in there, because the race started at 6, so it was a little bit later in the day. I had shade the whole day, so because we had our easy up, and then I went to it was fantastic.
I bet. Did you have some Bojangles?
I didn't have Bojangles. I did have bowl peanuts though.
Okay, all right. That's a South Carolina staple.
That's what you got to do. They make good peanuts too.
Have you had boiled peanuts before, Jeb?
I don't think I have.
Do you know
what? For real?
No.
You need to bring some.
I'm gonna bring some boiled peanuts.
Boiled peanuts sound good. I love peanuts.
You can, if you drive in any part of South Carolina, you will pass a boiled
gas
peanut
station,
stand.
anywhere, anything, convenience store.
I wasn't a believer of boiled peanuts for a long time. This guy who
didn't believe in them.
I just did. I didn't think it was going to be good, and had them. It's amazing. Had them
Especially to get the ones that are like the Cajun flavor ones. Ooh,
yeah, we gotta get you some boiled peanuts, man.
Yeah,
sounds good.
I'm gonna hook you up.
Really
all right, we had a discussion about barbecue yesterday that you missed.
Barbecue would be good too.
Yeah.
Are you a North Carolina barbecue person for sure with the vinegar? I do like it. I mean, I'm a South Carolina girl, so obviously I like the mustard sauce, like the golden mustard sauce. But I like both, honestly.
And I was explaining to James and Jeb that barbecue in the Triad and Eastern North Carolina barbecue, two totally different things. But we don't have to rehash the barbecue conversation. But you missed that conversation.
I did.
We missed you yesterday, Carlene. Welcome back.
Miss
so that
you.
But you're gonna miss this nice weather.
I like to be inside now.
You're gonna be inside. I was like, man, how do I transition to Carlene missing the nice weather outside?
Reminder, Carlene, you have to stay inside.
I was like, this is gonna feel like a wet blanket.
I just want a window. Engineering, if you can hear me, I just want a window in here.
We just want a window. We want a lot of things here in the studio, but a window.
We all want things.
I think the window is the one thing that we all can agree on.
Yeah.
Sorry for that, Carlene.
It's okay. We can. I can listen to Chris talk about the nice weather.
Yeah, let's all listen to Chris. It's full forecast. Here, listen in.
Hey everyone, a beautiful day today, just like yesterday, but there's one big difference, the clouds. We have additional cloud cover today. Yesterday at times was barely a cloud in the sky or just a couple of those upper level cirrus clouds. Well, now we have a mix of the mid to the upper level clouds. A lot of those fair weather cumulus clouds just showing that the weather is fair. So copy and paste yesterday's low and high on today, more clouds and still feeling just as comfortable. Now, yesterday was technically a little bit on the drier side, but we're splitting hairs here. 81 degrees has been a popular temperature as of recent. Sunday, yesterday, and now again today, we're hitting 81 degrees. Surrounding areas to the north still in the upper 70s, but this is a great range to be because it feels great. Now, our dew points were down in the 40s yesterday. That's even better than the 50s, but anything below 60, as long as you don't have a 6 in the tens place, you're feeling okay. But that humid air is trying to make a comeback, and it will be here by your Wednesday night heading into Thursday, and Thursday is going to be the big difference as we see things start to ramp back up. Really, Thursday through Sunday is going to be the most humid days, but Friday and Saturday stand out from all the rest. Those are also going to be the hottest days as well. Overnight tonight, I think we're going to clear out the skies, so should see an ample amount of sunshine. Yet again, Venus is going to be rising up before the sun, so you'll see that bright planet in the sky lower in the horizon before the sun rises up just shy of 7 o'clock. But the moon is a waxing gibbous, 73% illuminated. That officially actually rises up at 4:47 today. The cool thing about that is it's greeting you during the evening. I don't know about you, but when I see the moon during the day, it's just always a nice little special treat. Almost full as well, and officially full September 7th. So this quick little astrology throwing in with meteorology today. 59 degrees by tomorrow. We've been 58 the last couple of mornings, and then we're going to see temperatures ramp back up, even back to around 70 degrees on Saturday before we return to the lower 60s. A lot of ups and downs on the way. Tomorrow, Ghost Peppers. It's a 12:30 match, and this is actually going to be the last game, or the second to last game, that's going to be at this time for the season. So if you like to watch baseball during the day, this is going to be a good one. It's not overly hot as well. High temperatures in the lower 80s around Gastonia. Winds barely blowing. Our rainfall chances are going to try to hold off for your Wednesday. I still kept an isolated rain chance around. I think that's more so during the evening. Better chance for an isolated storm on Thursday, and the same thing for Saturday and Sunday. But today, Friday, and Monday, don't worry about it. No rain. Over the next 36 hours, here's the changes. We've had a high pressure system that's protected us overall. That's still going to eat up some of the rain as it starts to work its way a little bit closer to home. And then once these fronts get a little bit close to us, that's where we have the potential for a pop-up storm. Not right away, though. Today, I'm just going to move on because there's not much really to mention. By tomorrow morning, we're seeing an increase in clouds. Some of us will be starting off mild, likely in the 60s up in the foothills just because of that cloud cover. That rain is hovering right around the mountains, and then it's really mid to late morning that it starts to move its way off towards the east. Active light rain right around Taylorsville, and then it dissipates before it gets to Charlotte. So Charlotte likely seeing another dry day, mix of cloud and sunshine during the afternoon, but then moving towards your Thursday, we have isolated pop-up showers and storms. Not much on the map, so not a big rain chance, but it's going to be out there. So the unlucky ones that get a storm could have a quick downpour. 7-day forecast showing that upward trajectory into the upper 80s, feeling like the lower 90s, and the lower 90s actual air temperature could feel more like the mid 90s during the middle of the afternoon. An isolated rain chance as we mentioned, and then for your Sunday and Monday, seeing those temperatures hovering right around the lower 80s. So a lot of ups and downs, feeling more like the end of September, then back to July, then back to the end of September. Enjoy the ups and downs the next week of September. Take care, everyone.
I just wanted the music to play out as long as it could. I don't am I
It's
alone?
fun. It was jazzy.
It was like a jazzier, little, you know, yeah. Okay, all right.
We had to take these little pleasures when we can. We don't have a window again.
We
so
don't.
I can't enjoy the sunshine, but I can enjoy some music.
We got to look at the views too. That's as you saw uptown. Well, a distant shot of uptown. Okay, so all right, so let's talk about another story that we are following today. COVID-19. So COVID-19 cases. I want to read an article from the Today Show, NBC News, the Today Show, and just kind of put it in perspective. So it reads: COVID-19 cases are rising in nearly all U.S. states as much anticipated summer wave sweeps the country. And they wrote this back in July. And so they talked about the uptick, and they updated it last month and said as of August 5th, COVID-19 infections are either growing or likely growing in 45 states, declining in 0 states, and unchanged in 5 states. And they got that those stats, those forecasting models from the CDC. So we have WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg, who was in tracking this, And the numbers speak for itself.
They do. And I have actually recent numbers too. 3% increase in emergency rooms for COVID-19. Wow. That's an increase from the week before. So we are definitely seeing this more and more. I personally know people who have COVID at this moment. So it is going around, and it is kind of interesting because you're like, wait, no, it's still kind of summer. Like, why is this happening? Yeah. School's back in session though. So, if you do have kiddos, this is something you're going to have to watch out for itself. But with that, there seems to be a lot of confusion. This is why I'm in the verify space.
To sort out the confusion.
To sort out the confusion. But there seems to be some confusion on when people can head back to work, when they can be back in social settings. So we're looking at new guidelines. If you can remember, back in 2020, 21, it was
seems so
very
long
strict,
ago.
Right? Like
it was like after you're better, it was still 5 days after that or something like that?
Yes, it was a lot. But this is totally different now. So let's take a look at this. So you need to stay home if you obviously have a fever, if you have chills, body aches, head congestion, cough, all of that. So that's what CDC is saying to recommend to stay home. And then they're saying you can head back to work when overall you feel better and if you haven't had a fever in the last 24 hours without any medication to help you not have a fever.
So you can still be, and I'm asking this, but you can still be contagious though, right?
Right, correct. Okay. So you have to have no fever without any Advil in you or anything like that and feel better. But then they also recommend if you do go back to work for the next 5 days, you have to take precautions like wearing a mask, washing your hands often, and social distancing. So those are some of the recommendations that they have in place. Now, they're not saying you have to do all of those things. They just recommend that you do that because the virus can still shed during that time. Even if you're immunocompromised as well, it can actually spread longer. So it can take 2 weeks of still spreading is what they're saying. So just take precaution. If you did have COVID, you're feeling better, you haven't had that fever, and you need to get back to work like so many people do, just take the precautions of maybe wearing a mask, maybe moving into the conference room, something like that to stay away from people so you can not spread the virus because it is like really bad for some people with the flu-like symptoms basically, and you just got those body aches and all of that. So
It's funny because in 2020, you brought up 2020. I think folks could remember like the back of their hand, the rules and guidelines.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And now it's kind of like there's a lot of confusion, which reasonably so because it's been some time and we've lived with COVID long enough. But it's just funny that just 5 years ago we knew that.
Well, you said the word social distancing. I'm like, that's a term I haven't heard.
I know
in a minute,
in a very long time. But it's something even if you do have a cold or if you have the flu or something. I mean, these things should be in place for that as well.
Good practice,
because you don't want to spread that around.
Sure.
I do have to note too that because of the way that the vaccines are available to people, it's really best to do your due diligence now because people 65 and older can only get them at this moment, or if somebody is very immunocompromised or has an issue, they're allowed to get them, but they won't be available for everybody. So it is very important to take the steps, especially this fall, if you're around a lot of people, good hygiene, just knowing what to do in those instances.
That is an alert to the newsroom.
Right. Yes.
That's what Meg is saying.
Oh my goodness.
A perfect example because we work in a business and work in a newsroom. We have to collaborate. We have to be in person. And
the thing is, you always feel. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I always feel guilty about calling in sick.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I'm always like, I'm a trooper. I can do it. The last time I called in sick, we're just going to make it a personal story now, was election day.
Yes.
I had 104 fever, and I was trying to figure out how I could still work. I was like, I called Spencer, our producer, and I was like, if I stay in another room and don't talk to anybody, and she was like, you have 104 fever.
Right.
Like, why are you trying to come in? So
it's a running joke because we were
it is a running joke.
We were like, oh, Meg called out on the big coverage day. But seriously, we were like, okay, if you're not Meg is not gonna call out.
Yeah.
on something like this.
No.
But look, if you're not feeling well, don't come in.
Right, but if you are sick, you got to stay home. Just not only just for yourself, but
Right,
for
for others.
people
Right.
around you.
Yeah.
Because everybody has busy lives, and there's no time to be sick.
Like we work in
right?
shared spaces where we have
Yes,
to share
exactly.
a news desk and
Yeah.
things like that. So
Yeah, and a lot of people, work in jobs like that
Look,
too.
exactly.
So, just if you don't stay home if you feel sick.
And I know this because I wrote the time on the board because I was
Oh, you sure?
penciling in assignments
Oh yeah,
today.
I heard that you got to run the big board this morning.
How did I do, Meg?
He did great. His handwriting needs a little work, but
I was a little nervous. I was about to say Meg is going to be on at 5:15.
Yes.
With the story again, a lot of great information because there's a lot of confusion surrounding this COVID. Also, I know you've done stories on vaccines, so you can find those stories there. Meg, thank you for your time. It's been long overdue.
I
Here in
know.
the
I
studio.
haven't seen you guys. I know.
She was supposed to join us at one point, and she forgot.
No.
But
She-
then
she
you
did.
came out and we're like, actually, never mind.
Never mind. Don't put her on
we
the
were
spot
just
like that.
out
Meg, thank
What
you.
are you You're welcome.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Meg.
She
Bye.
literally walked out
She just
the
got
shot.
up and left. Thanks, Meg. Look, I see Governor Stein
Oh, he's
speaking.
talking.
Let's
Yes,
go to
yes,
Governor
yes.
Stein. We were going to take a break. Let's go to Governor Stein, North Carolina Governor Josh Stein, holding the first NC Strong Update news conference. Let's take a listen in.
North Carolina. The sector generates $88.3 billion in economic activity a year, $12 billion in pharmaceutical exports, and $2.4 billion in state and local government revenues. Now, I know I just rattled off a lot of numbers, but every one of those numbers started with a B. We're talking about big numbers. I recently had the chance to join Thermo Fisher Scientific for the company's ribbon cutting of its new facility in Mebane, and Genentech for its groundbreaking in Holly Springs. Together, these projects are creating more than 500 permanent jobs in North Carolina, in addition to more than 1,700 jobs in construction to build the facilities. We have developed a thriving cluster in North Carolina that in a virtuous cycle serves to nurture, expand, and attract new life sciences companies to the state. So we should build on that success, and we do that by planning for it. Secretary Lilly is here with us today, and he's going to tell you in a moment more about the state's strategic economic development plan that the Commerce Department is putting together to keep North Carolina in the forefront of economic development and growth in this country. I will be joining the department's listening session in Pembroke next week. Without a plan, we don't know where we're headed. So I want to thank you, Secretary Lilly, for putting us on a path to the future, and I'll now bring you forward to address the topic.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Governor. I want to thank Governor Stein and echo his remarks on the strength of North Carolina's economy. His leadership and our enduring appeal to businesses continue to yield strong results and high-paying jobs, especially in growing sectors like biotechnology and aerospace. North Carolina's value proposition is strong to businesses of all sizes, and with a world-class workforce, a strong and friendly business climate, and great communities, we continue to attract great jobs. Our people, places, and partnerships make us stand out in a competitive market for economic investment. Over the past 8 months, under the Governor's direction and in partnership with businesses, local governments, and communities, the Department of Commerce has helped North Carolina to attract more than 23,000 new jobs and $19 billion, that's with a B, $19 billion in capital investment. This is a record-setting pace for job creation, and it proves the strength of the economic development model that we have built together. Most importantly, it means more opportunities to build prosperity for North Carolinians in every corner of this state. But we know that we can't rest on today's successes, and we have to plan for what's next. And that's why, in partnership with Governor Stein, the department is developing the next statewide strategic economic development plan. This plan will set the course for economic growth through the end of this decade and builds on the strong foundations of the First in Talent Economic Development Plan that we adopted in 2021. We are working with a diverse steering committee of leaders in business, education, workforce development, and economic development, as well as local governments, nonprofits, and many others who help us to guide this work. We're also partnering with NC Impact Initiative at the UNC Chapel Hill School of Government to host listening sessions across all 8 of the state's regional prosperity zones and a virtual session for statewide engagement. Our economic development is strongest when it is driven by local priorities and strengths. These listening sessions will ensure that our plan reflects the best ideas from people in every region of our state, and that we're inviting everyone to take part in forming a plan that is rooted in community-based economic development. A full schedule of our listening sessions and registration details are available at the Commerce website at commerce.nc.gov. That's commerce.nc.gov. Our economy is strong and our progress is clear. But with this next plan, we're making sure that North Carolina stays on top, remains the best state for business, and continues to cultivate the conditions of prosperity in every part of our state. Thank you, Governor, for your leadership.
Thank you, Secretary. Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mo Green, will join me on our next topic, which is public education. Our public schools open doors of opportunity for 1.5 million North Carolinian young people. No matter our students' backgrounds, no matter where they live, every student has the chance to learn and grow in our public schools. They are the state's future. Therefore, they are the state's most important investment. We have to be smart and diligent about how we set them up for success. Just like with economic development, before we can make real progress in education, we first have to decide where we want to go. And that's what Superintendent Green and the State Board of Education's new strategic plan is all about. The plan is titled Achieving Educational Excellence. It sets bold and ambitious vision for North Carolina schools to be the very best in this nation. We should settle for nothing less. The plan builds on the state's successes and reimagines a system where every child is well prepared for the rest of his or her life. That means providing a rigorous education for our young people from pre-kindergarten through high school. An education that gives them the knowledge and skills to be successful in whatever they want to do after high school. Start a small business, go to community college, go to university, enlist in the military, join the workforce. This plan challenges us to revere educators, partner with parents, ensure that our children and staff have safe learning environments, and to galvanize champions for our public schools. It is a clear plan to take real actions with real metrics to make our schools the very best they can be. I commend Superintendent Green and the State Board of Education on how they developed this plan and what it means for North Carolina's future. In creating the plan, Superintendent Green traveled the state, listening to folks about their dreams, ideas, recommendations, and even frustrations. He and his team used that feedback to ensure that the plan represents the real interests of the people of North Carolina, most importantly, our students. This is North Carolina's plan. It will take us, every single one of us, working together to ensure that our students receive an excellent, life-shaping education. I'm honored to support the plan and be one of the many who will work hard to ensure its success. I will now bring forward Superintendent Green. Superintendent.
Thank you, Governor Stein. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Governor Stein, for your leadership and for bringing together the partners who are committed to making North Carolina strong. We are already, as the governor has stated, the best for business, and now it's time for public education. The initiatives you've already heard about today, artificial intelligence leadership and biotechnology innovation, aren't separate from education. Indeed, they depend on it. And our strategic plan positions North Carolina's public schools to be the engine that powers the state's future. Soon after I began my journey as North Carolina Superintendent of Public Instruction in January of this year, I embarked on a listening and learning tour. We called it Mo Wants to Know. From Waynesville to Windsor, I heard one resounding message. North Carolinians don't just support public education, they demand excellence from it. And so, as the governor has already alluded to, the State Board of Education and I present our answer, if you will, to that call. A strategic plan to make North Carolina's public schools the very best in the nation by 2030. This isn't about being competitive or even about reaching the top 10. This is about being number one, because that's what our 1.5 million public school students deserve. What makes this plan special, I would submit to you, are the following. One, it is student-centered. It goes beyond just mere test scores, as important as those are, to prepare students for life. It is educator-focused. It reveres those who make learning possible. It is community-driven. It was developed with North Carolinians, not for them. Thousands upon thousands provided input into the plan as they addressed questions like, what do you like and want to see continued in our public schools? What are the challenges and potential solutions? What are your big ideas? And how will you commit to making this plan successful? This plan is action-oriented. There are specific timelines, clear accountability, and measurable outcomes. And indeed, it is visionary. The goal to have the very best public education system in the nation by 2030. There are over 100 actions detailed in the plan that will be launched at various times over the next 5 years. However, we are not waiting, as the work has already begun. Some examples of that then, if you will, the Golden Leaf Foundation and its initiative to provide $25 million investing in transforming mathematics instruction in rural communities. North Carolina College Connect is transforming college access. This year alone, 63,000 seniors are discovering that it's not if they'll attend college, but where they'll attend college, because they have already been directly admitted to 34 public and private colleges and universities in North Carolina if they have at least a 2.8 grade point average. Some have even been admitted to 41. We have a new statewide student information system, Infinite Campus, and it's putting real-time academic and other data in the hands of families so they can work closely with their children. Schools are reclaiming focused learning environments by thoughtfully managing mobile device distractions. But here's what I want every North Carolinian to understand. This plan requires all of us, that's educators, families, parents, businesses, communities, students, all of us. You are essential to making this plan and its vision successful. And so I ask of you to do the following. Number one, read the plan. You can find it at North Carolina Department of Public Education's website. Hold us, certainly me, the State Board of Education, accountable for delivering results, and I would say, hold yourself accountable as well, because you are part of this plan. And indeed, become a champion of public schools. Our educators deserve to be revered. Our students deserve endless possibilities, and North Carolina deserves the very best public schools in America. Together, we can achieve educational excellence. Together, we will become the #1 public education system in the country. Thank you.
Our last topic has to do with disasters. September is Disaster Preparedness Month. Unfortunately, we all know that in North Carolina we live in the path of many natural disasters, and many parts of our state are still in recovery mode, whether it's from Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Aaron, or Tropical Storm Chantal. And let's face it, we are being hit by many more storms than in the past. Over the previous 20 years, we anticipated 35 storms to hit North Carolina. We experienced 50. That means 15 more storms came than was expected. And these storms are not just numbers. Each one of them impacted people's lives, people's homes, people's livelihoods. So now more than ever, we as a state must invest in resilience. Now more than ever, we must build with an eye toward improving, not just restoring. Now more than ever, every North Carolinian must get prepared. Each one of us can take a few simple steps to be ready for whatever storm might hit and to know that our loved ones are ready as well. That means putting together an emergency kit that includes water, food, prescriptions, and supplies to last you several days. It means whether you're a cable watcher or Twitter follower, when bad weather is headed your way, make sure that you are following your local media advisories. Sign up for your county's emergency alert system to get the most up-to-date information. And it means making a plan with your family before any storm hits so that everyone knows exactly what to do should disaster strike. Each week this month, I will be talking about one aspect of what preparedness looks like. And I invite all state agencies, all local governments, all elected officials to join me in raising awareness of this issue. There is so much useful information at readync.gov. It's all about preparing a little in order to save a lot. I will now sign a proclamation declaring September as North Carolina Preparedness Month. At this time, I'll invite forward speakers and the legislators to stand on either side of me, and feel free to address questions to any of us. Yes.
Dina Harley with CBS 17, either for you or Superintendent Green. We were at a press conference just a few weeks ago with Attorney General Jackson talking about that confusion, I'll say, with funding from the Department of Education. What is DPI and your groups doing to make sure we don't run into that situation again where we're kind of last minute scrambling, figuring out if we don't get this federal help, what happens?
So first of all, let me be sure we set the context of what you mentioned. It was not DPI that was finding it. Well, we did find ourselves in this situation, but it wasn't because of anything that the Department of Public Instruction had actually done. The federal government, on the eve of when dollars should have been and all have historically been released to departments of public instruction across the country, was being withheld. Right, and so it is that that caused the Department of Public Instruction to certainly go to the Attorney General, as many other Attorney Generals were approached as well across the country, ultimately to file a lawsuit. That lawsuit was to try to get the release of a total of $7 billion across the country. For North Carolina, it was about $165 million. So, now, what we have done since that point, because the dollars, at least the first wave of those dollars, ultimately were released, and pleased that that has happened, but there's another set of dollars that are to be released on or about October the 1st. And so it's my understanding that the Attorney General was to try to get the release of a total of $7 billion across the country. For North Carolina, it was about $165 million. So now, what we have done since that point, because the dollars, at least the first wave of those dollars, ultimately were released, and pleased that that has happened. But there's another set of dollars that are to be released on or about October the 1st. And so it's my understanding that the attorney generals and others who are in the litigation are negotiating with the federal government and its administration to be sure that that second set of dollars does in fact happen on October the 1st. The lawsuit will not be dismissed until and such time as those dollars do come to every state, including North Carolina.
I will just add to that. I had a meeting with Secretary McMahon the day that the decision was announced, and I want to commend Attorney General Jackson and Superintendent Green for their leadership in advocating for North Carolina Public School students. $5 billion, $6 billion, $7 billion, that is a lot of money. And it was gratifying to me that the first agenda item in our meeting, she immediately alleviated and said, we will be releasing those funds today. Laura.
Related, Laura Leslie with WRAL News. Question for you regarding Helene recovery. Obviously, it's been nearly a year since Helene. We're now into fall tourist season out in the West. What can you tell us about recovery out there in terms of economic recovery, community recovery?
Yeah. Helene was absolutely devastating. It's just hard for people to understand the scope of it, the breadth of it, from essentially the Georgia line to the Virginia line and about 8 counties wide. The people out west have been nothing short of inspiring. The way that they have stepped up for each other has been moving. The nonprofits that were immediately on the ground, I was in Yanceyville, Yancey County with Baptist on Mission, helping them very poorly hang sheetrock in a teacher's home, but the homeowner didn't begrudge me. So the relief has been amazing in terms of what people have been doing for each other. What we have to ensure is that our state government and federal government rise to the same level of those neighbors helping neighbors. So I consider that my job. I've worked in partnership with the General Assembly. In fact, Representative Johnson is on the Hurricane Helene Advisory Council that I formed to make sure that we are well informed about our priorities as we go to the legislature. And the legislature has made 2 appropriations totaling in excess of $1 billion. It is not everything that I've asked for, but it's meaningful. And so our obligation is to put those funds back into the community as effectively and quickly as we can. And that's what we're doing. We just completed the first house in our HUD CDBG DR, a lot of acronyms. That's a federal program for housing reconstruction after a storm. We were the first state to get our plan submitted, the first state to have our plan approved, the first state affected by Helene to have finished a home. In fact, no state has moved faster than North Carolina in more than a decade after a major hurricane. So folks are working incredibly hard. This is a marathon. The work will not be done in 2025. It will not be done in 2026. I'm sad to say it probably won't be done in 2027. But what we have to be is committed to the long-term economic recovery. The point I want people of North Carolina to know is that Western North Carolina truly is open for business. That does not mean that every business is open, but every community has businesses that are open and have their doors wide open, welcoming in customers, many of whom are tourists. It's a very tourist-dependent economy. And so if folks have the opportunity this fall to go look at some leaves, you'll be encounter incredible beauty, but at the same time, you will be doing something
All right, so that is a live look out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Governor Stein talking about NC Strong, giving an update there in a press conference that's been going on for a while. He's answering questions at the moment. We want to take a step away from that, and we want to go to break. We'll be back in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene's here. Jeb's here. All right, let's move on. We had the governor earlier. If he's still speaking, we will get to him. But we want to get to a story that we're following today for our newscast. So there is growing frustration in Waxhaw. And some residents say the town is approving too many developments way too fast. WCNC Charlotte's Walker Lawson is in Waxhaw. So Walker, I know you know development is your beat, and you've covered development projects in Waxhaw. So, when we talk about development, what are we talking about there?
Yeah, well, frustrations have really been growing just about the amount of residential development that we're seeing. So behind me specifically is a project that was expected to be voted on a couple weeks ago, known as the Olivia Project. It will bring residential homes to this property behind me. Now, it was supposed to be voted on in early August, but 3 board commissioner members were not present, so they were not able to vote on that project. So this will be voted on later this month. There's also another project that's expected to bring around 200 plus homes on another side of town with around 100 or so townhomes, and they will be meeting, the developer will be meeting with neighbors in that community on Monday next week. But those 2 developments are just a small picture of a much larger problem happening here within the town that residents feel their voices are not being heard.
So that meeting you said on Monday, are we expected to hear from residents, or is it going to be more of just the developer laying out plans?
Yeah, so this is one of a very early step for this project. So this is just a developer meeting the neighbors in the community meeting. So that's going to be happening on Monday. It will still then have to go before many different votes and boards before it comes to life. But in a lot of these smaller municipalities, you will see the developers will have to sit and meet down first with the residents that are in proximity of the project. We saw that with the Statesville Data Center. They first spoke to just the residents, then they went to the planning board. So that's kind of a similar project that you're seeing here. But for people here, I mean, when you look at the number of units, when you go to the town of Waxhaw's website and you look up just how many projects have been approved, how many are in the works, there's over 4,700 units that I could count that are on that developer project list within the town of Waxhaw. So like I said, these 2 projects are smaller bits of a much larger issue for residents.
Yeah, and that town is, as you mentioned, Walker, continuing to grow there. All right, Walker, thank you for your time. You can catch Walker's story at 5 and 6, and of course it'll be posted on our digital platform, Walker. Thank you for your time. Be safe out there, man. All right, so again, you can catch Walker at 5 and 6 o'clock this evening. Let's go back over to Raleigh, where Governor Stein is still taking questions, holding a press conference on NC Strong, giving an update. Let's take a listen in. We heard from State Superintendent Mo Green earlier, but again, this is Governor Stein speaking, answering questions. Again, let's take a listen in.
20% of all state jobs are not filled today. So what we have to do is make sure that we are delivering maximum value to North Carolinians, to taxpayers, through government services with the expenditures that we have. So I think that we can do that. I think AI can help us serve people more effectively. DMV is a great example. You know, people have unbelievable and understandable frustration with how long it takes to get served at the DMV. So we're going to analyze what processes at the DMV can we use AI to help get people through the system quicker so that the lines at the DMV offices are shorter. I'm not denying that there may not be employment consequences, whether in the private sector or public sector, but we are nowhere near that at this point. We just want to make sure that government works for people as efficiently as possible. And I was going to ask Tina if you wanted to take that too.
Sure. So the other thing I'll add to it is, if you think about AI, we're utilizing it now in many parts. You're utilizing it on your phone. You probably get directions to get here because you avoided traffic and construction, as we all do. So it's an intricate tool that can be used just as any other tool like a computer. So it's going to make it more efficient for workers to actually do their job. As we look at it, how do we take that efficiency and be able to shift them to doing something else as well that they already have, they just haven't gotten to. So this way, it does work better for all North Carolinians because they're taking everything they're doing and they're able to actually give a little more if they're able to get the task at hand done. So that's why we're trying to use it as an efficiency tool as well, just as every other tool in a tool shed.
Don, what's your follow-up? Yeah.
Are these meetings going to be public and all related documents? And then Governor Stein, you mentioned the risks factor. I see DIT has on their site about framework and responsible framework and that sort of thing. But what kind of hard sort of safeguards are there going to be?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. We are looking at the framework on how to make sure it is safe and integral for all of North Carolinians. And when we do it, of course, we will have it open and for our AI council, and we will have those published meeting minutes and results from those council as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, so that was a press conference with Governor Stein and other state officials there in Raleigh regarding NC Strong. All right, so we want to take a quick break. We'll be back in just 2 minutes. I promise we'll be back in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. I do want to point out this hour, we are keeping an eye on the White House. We are expected to hear from President Trump. He's expected to make an announcement. So as soon as he comes out, we will take you there live for President Donald Trump's announcement there in Washington, D.C. All right, so we want to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where that is Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey speaking, just left the podium, but we are hearing from other Minnesota mayors to call for legislative action to address gun violence. This comes less than a week after that tragic shooting at Annunciation Church in Minneapolis. Let's take a listen in to what's being said right now.
Who make it clear day in and day out that we demand action in Minnesota. I'm proud to be the mayor of a city that takes action on gun violence. I'm proud to be the mayor of a city that partnered with Moms Demand Action to create a safe storage law. I'm proud to be the mayor of a city that decided a couple of years ago that we were going to boost our investments, in particular in non-fatal shootings, and have tripled our solve rate for non-fatal shootings and seeing gunfire drop precipitously as a result of that. I'm proud of all of the work that we're doing on the local level. As horrifying as the experience we all went through last week, it also is a source of pride to know that we have first responders, that we have EMTs, that we have teachers and parents and community members and pastors and priests and elders and imams who will do whatever it takes to keep our children safe, to rally together as community members. That's what we do when there's an emergency. Everybody jumps in and does their part. That's what we saw in Minneapolis last week. That's what we see in St. Paul. That's what we see in all of these communities with all of these mayors that are gathered here together literally every single day. But let me tell you, the emergency did not start when that cowardly individual chose to point an assault rifle at children and pull the trigger. The emergency did not start when those two beautiful children, Minnesotan children, took their last breath. The emergency started when we found out that we live in a country in which the #1 cause of death for children is gunfire. All of that work that we do in St. Paul, all of that work that those first responders do, all of that work that our police officers and firefighters and paramedics do is limited by a national and statewide policy environment that enables people to have the type of firearms that wreaked that damage in Minneapolis that last week. Our request, as Mayor Fry said, agrees with the vast majority of Minnesotans. It agrees with common sense, and it's important to note it agrees with our law enforcement community. That if you want to fire 100 rounds in a matter of a couple of seconds, go join the Army. We don't have a need for those types of firearms, for those types of weapons in our community. We are asking for weapons that are designed and manufactured to be instruments of death, to be used against people. Those high-capacity weapons that are designed as assault rifles to be banned in our state. We are asking for any device that's manufactured specifically for the purpose of turning a regular firearm into a high-capacity assault weapon to be banned in our state. We don't need them in our schools. We don't need them in our rec centers. We don't need them in our neighborhoods. We don't need them on our streets. We don't need them in our communities. Today is the first day of school in St. Paul. It's an exciting and joyful day. I got a chance this morning to talk to kindergartners, to fist bump rising seniors, and to tell sixth graders how excited I was to be a sixth grader when I was in their shoes. And Mayor Fry also got a chance to talk to parents whose excitement for the moment, whose pride for their students, whose joy at jumping into another school year is also seasoned by the taste of grief, by the taste of trauma, by the taste of loss that we all feel so profoundly in our community right now. Those students, those children saw an emergency and they took action. Those teachers saw an emergency and they took action. Those clergy members saw an emergency and they took action. The police officers, the firefighters, the paramedics, the first responders saw an emergency and took action. We have an emergency, and we are simply asking our legislature to do what every 8-year-old in that school knew to do last week. Take action. With that, I'd love to introduce Bloomington Mayor Tim Bussey. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tim Bussey. I have the pleasure and the honor of serving as the mayor of the city of Bloomington. Proud to stand here with my fellow mayors and with community members, but I'm heartbroken that we're here after yet another horrific act of violence here in the Twin Cities. Folks, I'm old enough to remember when this country literally went to war over an incorrectly perceived threat of weapons of mass destruction. Now we have an immediate threat, a very local threat, from devastating weapons right here in our schools, our churches, our communities, and our neighborhoods. Weapons of war are in the hands of people who should never, ever have the opportunity to use them, and our communities are paying the price. Since last Wednesday's shooting at Annunciation Church, we've seen the unwavering resolve of Minnesotans who are demanding change. Inaction is no longer an option. And if our state and federal leaders can't match the urgency and the determination of the people that they represent, then it's time to give cities the tools and the authority to use those tools. Give the cities the opportunity to lead, because cities have a long history of leading, stepping up when higher levels of government have stalled. Whether it's a housing, indoor smoking bans, earned sick and safe leave, childcare, it was cities that led, and eventually the state followed. Because cities know how to get things done.
That's right.
We're the closest to the people.
That's right.
We feel the impact, and we shoulder the responsibility. Gun violence doesn't respect city boundaries. This isn't a big city problem. This isn't a first-ring suburb problem. This is a Minnesota problem. From Bloomington to Burnsville, from Cold Spring to Buffalo to Red Lake, our communities are hurting. And it's our first responders and our local law enforcement who are on the front line. I just want to express my deepest gratitude to the brave men and women who responded to last week's tragedy, including our police officers from Bloomington who responded. They didn't hesitate. They ran toward danger. They deserve our respect, they deserve our support, and they deserve action. They should not be outgunned. They deserve a seat at the table to prevent these tragedies before they happen. We've heard from many voices a call for better mental health resources. I absolutely couldn't agree more. That's why the Bloomington Police Department has launched a mental health rapid response pilot program, providing in-home counseling and therapy in the midst of a crisis. We've embedded social workers in our department, and we're working with St. Mary's University on community brain health. Bloomington Public Health is tackling loneliness and isolation through their Start With High program, helping people reconnect and heal. But these programs are working. They're replicable. Other cities could do them as well. But it takes resources. It takes funding and commitment. And here's the hard truth, folks. Many, if not all, of the same voices who are now talking about mental health investment were absolutely silent when the Trump administration eliminated a $1 billion school mental health grant and proposed slashing funding to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration by another $1.1 billion. If you truly believe that mental health is part of the solution here, if you're not just swapping out thoughts and prayers for mental health solutions, it's time to speak up. And it's time to step up. It's time to fight for the resources that our communities need to be safe. Cities are ready to lead, but we cannot do it alone. We need state and federal partners who understand that community safety is not a partisan issue. It's not about scoring political points. It's about saving lives. Let's all act. Let's act together before we're standing here again. With that, I'd like to introduce Kathleen Anderson from Moms Demand Action.
Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kathleen Anderson. I live in St. Paul, and I am one of the state chapter leaders for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I'm also a clinical social worker. In my work, I've sat across from children and families whose lives have been upended by the trauma of gun violence. I know how deep these wounds go. Children who can't sleep through the night, parents who carry unbearable grief, and communities that struggle to heal long after the headlines fade. What happened at Annunciation Catholic School last week is so devastating. 2 children, just 8 and 10 years old, were shot and killed in a place that should have been their sanctuary. A third is fighting for her life right now in the ICU. Their classmates and their teachers memory of that day forever, and their families will live with grief that no parent should ever endure. We know the common thread in these tragedies are assault weapons. These are weapons of war designed to kill as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. They fire round after round in seconds, leaving children, teachers, and police officers alike with no chance to escape. When these guns are used, the devastation is not just worse, it is catastrophic. That's why Governor Walz must call a special session now, and why lawmakers must pass an assault weapons ban. We cannot wait until 2026. Every day without action is another day when a weapon of war could be carried into a classroom, a church, or a city street. When the federal government banned these guns, it worked. States that have assault weapons bans see fewer mass shootings. The evidence is clear that banning assault weapons saves lives. I also want to thank the mayors, all gathered here today, for gathering and calling for action, because mayors see the reality up close. What happens when assault-style weapons flood our streets, when families bury their children, when city resources are stretched to respond to crisis after crisis. Because here's the truth. Minnesotans' preemption laws tie our mayor's hands. We faced this head-on 2 years ago when we worked with the St. Paul City Council and the mayor's office to pass our secure storage ordinance. Even if these mayors wanted to pass local laws to ban assault weapons in their cities or to keep guns out of schools, parks, libraries, or rec centers, they can't. The state law says no, and that is unacceptable. If the legislature fails to ban assault weapons, local leaders must have the authority to protect their own communities. Repealing preemption is not just good policy, it's a lifeline. Our cities deserve the power to do what the state won't. And as a neighbor to the Capitol, I live just 8 minutes away. I'm here all of the time during sessions, and I hear elected leaders on the other side say, well, these policies just don't work for my constituents. The persistent threat of gun violence is not working for the children in my home, for the neighbors on my block, for the kids in my community, and all of the communities of the mayor standing behind me. We cannot accept a future where our children practice lockdown drills instead of spelling words, where parents live in fear of the next call from school, where communities are forever scarred by preventable tragedies. Governor Walz must call a special session. Lawmakers must ban assault weapons, and if they refuse, they must at least give our mayors and city councils the power to step up and do it themselves. Our kids deserve to come home at the end of the day. They deserve to grow up safe, and it is our responsibility to make sure they do so. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll open it to questions, but before we get to the first one, I just want to know, we've got mayors up here from Minnetonka to Stillwater, and this is a small example of the number of mayors throughout the state that are on board with this strategy here.
Sounds like you're skeptical that perhaps the divided legislature will be able to actually pass an assault weapons ban when they go to special session potentially later this month. What makes you think there'd be any appetite for them to also repeal that law from the 80s of preemption?
Look, I'm not naive to the political dynamics that take place at the Capitol, and I don't pretend to understand all of the machinations that could potentially take place as part of a special session. We need the question called. Let's have the debate. Let's have the argument. Let's move forward and take the vote. Because that is what our constituents are demanding, and this is not about politics for us. This is not about politics for the mayors that are on the front lines, the teachers that have experienced so much grief. the students that need to be able to go into school and learn math and play on a playground and mess around in a cafeteria without the concern of getting shot. That is one of the most obvious things that I could possibly say. And so, again, I don't pretend to understand all of the politics that goes into this, but what I do know is that we need to act. What I do know is these are not radical or bizarre asks. This is common sense. For those that say we need common sense in politics, this is a great opportunity to make sure that that mentality is applied in legislation.
Let me add that.
Please.
I'd also say, and to your point of the complexities of everything that happens or doesn't happen in this building, I always tell folks that our job as mayors is to deal with the challenges that end up too hard for our federal government or our state government to address. We end up addressing those things on the front line. I think one of our goals in saying either pass a ban or move out of the way and give us the opportunity in our own communities is to offer a menu of options to say if you're not capable of passing a ban yourself, then give us the opportunity to let local voters, local communities decide. And frankly, I'll add a third, is that if even that feels like a stretch too far, for those legislators who may feel like this doesn't work for their constituents, we'll give your constituents the opportunity to decide for themselves through a statewide vote. Let's call the question. Let's put the question on the ballot. And part of my hope is that as we have this conversation, as we start this major statewide conversation, that those folks who live in some of those districts who are constituents, who say, like you just said, access to personal weapons of mass destruction doesn't work for my family, doesn't work for our children, doesn't work for our community. We ought to make sure they get a chance to stand up and say that themselves, to make sure that any legislature in any part of this state gets a chance to hear from their own constituents who need us to do something different in Minnesota.
Mayor, are you saying that you want to propose a statewide constitutional amendment vote, or you're saying that cities should be able to do local referenda? When you said put the question to voters.
Again, I will say that I'll reiterate that I don't understand all the politics that occurs in this building, so I don't have the specifics where that's concerned. What I am suggesting is that it's not time to do nothing.
How many of the mayors here have stores that sell guns in their city? Are there, I'm just trying to get a count here. Does anybody here have stores?
Well, I know there's one in my city.
And I'm sorry, you're with?
Minnetonka, there's a gun store in Minnetonka.
Okay. Is there any concern that, standing at the state level, you can still cross to a different municipality and still pick up an assault weapon? I mean,
that I would say, excuse me,
Please
I would say, that's always a concern, but doing nothing is a bigger concern. The fewer, I'm a marketer by training, and if there's one thing I've learned is increased access equals increased consumption. So if you take away opportunities to get guns, there will be fewer guns used. Does it solve the problem? It does not. But does it reduce the problem? Does it mitigate the problem? Yes, it does. So while, let's not let perfect be the enemy of the good.
I have a question about the practical aspects of this. If one city bans assault weapons and the neighboring city doesn't ban it, does that mean if you carry your weapon over the city line, that would be against the law?
Yes.
Okay. And then what do you do about all of the assault weapons that are currently in people's homes? And we have no idea how many assault weapons are in Minnesota homes legally right now. What do you do with that?
Again, and please weigh in, but I think that you're right. Banning assault weapons going forward is not going to solve the problem. What we're trying to do is make improvements to reduce the magnitude of the problem. Over time, those assault weapons hopefully will go away. But yeah, we're not going to go into people's homes and take assault weapons away, in my view, but we're going to ban the future sale and start mitigating the problem because we do not allow the sale of assault weapons in our cities.
Is that what you're talking about? You're saying, is that what you're talking about with your...
So we have had bans on assault weapons nationally before. That ban then expired. And so this is not, it's not as if this is some unique thing that has never been tried. Other countries have had mass shootings. And then rather than sit on their hands, they have made the move to ban assault weapons so that that kind of thing doesn't happen again. The only difference is we haven't made that move in decades. And so we're in the position to do it now. Are there logistics that need to be worked out just like any piece? Of course there are. But we got to have the argument, we got to take the necessary steps, and we're in the position now to act.
Can you be more specific about, assault weapon is a fairly arbitrary term that would need to be defined. You talked about banning certain models, certain assaultive features. Speak to how you're defining assault weapons.
Right. Generally speaking, we're talking about guns and devices that are built to be assault weapons and or devices that are built to shift non-assault weapons to be able to reel off a whole bunch of bullets all at once. And we've seen both of those in our city. We have seen the ability to simply attach a device to a non-assault weapon, and suddenly it is made into one that can reel off 30 rounds. We're trying to prevent both of those things from happening.
So some models and also certain assaultive features.
That's correct.
Is there a state that has, a number of states have some sort of restriction or ban? Is there a state that you think Minnesota or maybe Moms Demand has thought about this, like should model it after? Because they do, the definitions vary.
Yes.
And what's actually?
The definitions do vary. For purposes of what we're asking for today, there are, I believe, 8 states that have allowed for municipalities and cities to act. So, again, we are saying the best scenario here is obviously a national ban. The next best scenario is a statewide ban. But if you're either unwilling or unable to act at those levels of government, give us the ability to take the steps to keep our children safe.
Are any of you represented in the legislature by Republicans? And if so, have you talked to them? Or, I mean, because it seems like that's where the pressure needs to be applied. Anybody?
We're all looking at you, man. I mean, we have a Democrat in the state legislature and a Republican.
Go for it, please.
Sorry. We're fortunate in Stillwater to be represented by a Democrat in the House and a state Republican in our state Senate. At this point, I haven't had a chance to talk with either of them about this initiative or even about the tragedy that happened last week, but I look forward to doing so.
Yeah, and just to be very clear again, and thank you, Mayor, we're not talking about your father's hunting rifle. We're not talking about shooting ducks and deer. We're talking about having the ability to reel off 30 rounds before you need to reload. I'm not a hunter, and I acknowledge that, but I doubt that as a hunter, that's how you do it.
Is there any talk
Am I right?
about what the magazine capacity limit should be? You said 30 rounds. I mean,
high-capacity magazines, I believe, is defined as 10 and above, but you should probably check my fact.
I have a question that's kind of in the weeds about preemption. Mayor Carter, maybe, I remember when we covered the safe storage initiative, one of the ways we did that legally was that it had to do with amending code that you could control around discharge of weapons. Am I remembering that correctly?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then I know the gun owners said they were going to sue, and I don't think they did, if it was enforced, but like, is there anything that any mayors are looking at in terms of things you may be able to do on a regulating discharge of certain weapons, or is there a lot of gray area there legally?
Oh, those are questions that we're really interested in. It's a conversation I had with our city council president, honestly, just this morning. And you're right, our safe storage law that, folks said, this is going to be unconstitutional. And, they decided not to sue for themselves, despite all of that saber rattling. What we determined was that we were operating in a space that specifically was not preempted. We weren't actually governing how you carry a firearm. We were governing how you store it when you're not carrying a firearm. And like you said, governing discharge of a firearm. Obviously, discharge is too late. right? That we need solutions that are far upstream. And this is what you're hearing from the mayors here. We spend an enormous amount of time trying to sort of hack the problem that in Minnesota, you can go and get a high-capacity rifle that can fire off dozens of rounds in a matter of seconds in a scenario in which there's absolutely no way for people to have time to just take cover or hide, let alone defend themselves. And that is the challenge that we're trying to face. I'm sure I speak for all of us when we say we certainly are looking for spaces that give us opportunities to act in the midst of in the context of the state the state legislative environment that we're in. However, all of those things are just trying to figure out how to navigate what the real problem is. And so much of that real challenge, so much of that real problem can be solved by saying we just don't allow the sale of high-capacity assault weapons in this state. Again, our ask, and there are lots of details. There are lots of details to be worked out. And we mayors, our police chiefs, our police officers, our first responders stand ready to work directly with any legislator in this building who's ready for a real conversation about how we protect our children and our families. Our demand is don't do nothing.
One more question.
2012, and our gun laws in this country have fairly changed since then. Why should this one be any different?
That's the question.
That is the question.
That's the question.
I think there's more than a few people that would say, why try, just throw up your hands, it's not worth it. Think about your children. I think about my little girls. I think about every morning getting them up, trying to get on Frida's shoes, handing her a thing of applesauce. It's these little annoyances that in the moment are frustrating. But this is what I love about being a dad, and we should think about these kids not as somebody else's, but as our own. We have the ability to do something now. The ask is very straightforward. And even in the last 7 years, since we took office as mayors, I'll tell you, things have changed, not for the better. When I used to get a call from the chief late at night or get briefed early in the morning, one of the questions I would ask is, how many shots fired? I don't ask that question anymore. Why? Because the dynamic has changed, whereas before it was just a few shots over the period of a minute. Now, based on the ability to attach a clip, it's a spray of bullets. That spray hits more people. That spray divides more families. That spray, just by simple math, this is math, makes our cities more dangerous, and we have the ability to make them more safe by preventing that spray from happening. This is as basic as it gets. This is math. And we can prevent these kinds of deaths in large numbers. Obviously, we need to work on mental health. Yes, of course, we support prayer and thoughts. And we support action.
Mayor Kozlowski.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, just one more. That question, or that conversation you're going to have with Senator Hausman, that seems like the most important conversation that's going to happen. And I haven't had it yet. How are you going to approach it? How are you going to try to convince this person that, hey, action is needed in this moment?
I'm really, Karen has always been, Senator Housley has always been wonderful to work with and a big help for the city of Stillwater. So I'm confident we can have a good, productive conversation. I'm optimistic and I'm hopeful that she can be a leader on her side of the aisle with this. She's very effective at her job, and she's a parent. I think she'll understand. I think it'll be a good conversation.
Thank you. We have Tom Stoltz in here if you have any more questions.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks for being
Nice job.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so that was a press conference live there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as mayors and other leaders within the state speak on gun violence. This comes after that tragic shooting there in Minneapolis, killing 2 children. So we want to step away from that, and we want to go to break. We'll be right back in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Carlene's here, Jeb's here, the crew is here, and we want to get to something that's happening live. Let's take you now to Washington, D.C., where right now that is Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries holding a press conference there in our nation's capital. Let's take a listen in.
And like many of the other efforts at utilizing emergency power, including most recently the effort to use a so-called emergency to justify the Trump tariffs, which are hurting everyday Americans, it will ultimately be struck down in court. That's the reality of how Donald Trump has approached governing during his administration. The American people know it, which is why he remains deeply unpopular at this point in time, and why they are running scared because they have no track record of accomplishment to run on.
Over the recess, you met with Zoran Mamdani. What's taking you so long to support him? What do you need to hear from him to get behind the nominee from your party?
Stay tuned.
Why can't you get, what is it, are you concerned about his politics?
Stay tuned.
Thank you.
The election's 2 months away.
Several of Jeffrey Epstein's victims are on the Hill today and tomorrow. I'm just curious whether you're meeting with any of them, and if so, what you're trying to communicate to them.
I don't have a scheduled meeting with any of the victims.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. That was Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries speaking in Washington, D.C., holding a press conference. His shot froze. But that press conference is happening live. So we got the shot back up. So let's take you back there right now.
Transparency, that every single wrongdoer is held accountable. And that the Trump administration is forced to stop hiding information from the families of the victims and from the American people.
Thank you, Leader. Have you had any conversations about, and would you support a ban on members of Congress trading stocks and other financial assets?
I've answered that question multiple times, and the answer is yes.
Mr. Leader, thank you. This is a timely question. Boring, but potentially important. The deadline for government funding falls on.
All right, so that is Representative Hakeem Jeffrey speaking right now. So we want to go over, and we promised this earlier, President Donald Trump speaking. So let's take you there now. He's speaking right now in Oval Office. Shot just popped up literally, so we're bringing it to you live. Let's take a listen to it.
Announcement, 7 years in the making. As you know, this has been going on for a long period of time, and I am thrilled to report that the U.S. Space Command headquarters will move to the beautiful locale of a place called Huntsville, Alabama, forever to be known from this point forward as Rocket City. Okay, so Huntsville, Alabama, we love Alabama. I only won it by about 47 points. I don't think that influenced my decision, though, right? That didn't, right? But we had a lot of competition for this, and Alabama's getting it, Huntsville in particular, so congratulations, everybody. Katie, congratulations. This will result in more than 30,000 Alabama jobs, and probably much more than that, and hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, and that's billions, because it can't be millions, it's billions and billions of dollars. Most importantly, this decision will help America defend and dominate the high frontier, as they call it. I want to thank Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's doing a fantastic job. And Secretary of the Air Force Troy Mink. Troy, thank you very much. Great job you're doing, Troy. This is such a big deal. This is one that everybody wanted to know. What are you doing? I also want to thank Senators Katie Britt, and I want to give my condolences. Your grandmother, her grandmother just passed away. She was 100, right?
100, and she loves you, Mr. President.
Well, and she was very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Very, very proud of you. So thank you, Katie.
Wonderful woman.
She must have been. To produce you indirectly, I can tell you she had to be. Tommy Tuberville, who's a great coach. And I won't say anything about what happened with Alabama football this weekend.
Let's leave that out.
But you're not used to that, right? You're not used to that. But Tommy, Auburn won, that's right. They did. So you're happy. Tommy's been a great senator, as you know, and a fantastic guy all around. He was also a tremendous coach. House Armed Services Committee Chair Mike Rogers. Thank you, Mike. Where's Mike? Mike, thank you very much. Doing great, Mike. Representatives Barry Moore, all great friends, Robert Adderholt, Gary Palmer, and Dale Strong. Thank you all very much, fellas. Appreciate it. In my first term, I created a thing called Space Force, so important. You know, we were losing the race in space very badly to China and to Russia, and now we're far and away #1 in space. And reestablish SpaceCom with a mission to protect American space assets and detect any threat to our homeland. We initially selected Huntsville for the SpaceCom headquarters, yet those plans were wrongfully obstructed by the Biden administration. And as you know, they moved them to a different locale. And today we're moving forward with what we want to do and the place that we want to have this. And this will be there for hopefully hundreds of years. That's where it's going to be. I will say I want to thank Colorado. The problem I have with Colorado, one of the big problems, they do mail-in voting. They went to all mail-in voting. So they have automatically crooked elections. And we can't have that. When a state is for mail-in voting, that means they want dishonest elections, because that's what that means. So that played a big factor also. In Huntsville, SpaceCom will play a key role in building the Golden Dome, as you know. That's going to be a big thing. Everybody wants to be a participant in it. Missile Defense Shield, we're going to be having a Golden Dome that the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. The finest, the best. And by the way, Canada called. They want to be a part of it, and that'll be great. But Canada wants very much to be included in that, and then we're going to work something out with them, I hope. It will also ensure that our technological capabilities, of which we're way ahead of anybody else. There's nobody close. Remain unmatched long into the future. So I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth to say a few words. He was very much a part of it. And really, everybody behind me was. Every one of these people would call me and lobby me. I said, Katie, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I know what you want. She said, that's right, sir. That's what I want. And they got their way. So I just want to congratulate. These are really special people. They're politicians in many ways, but they're great patriots, I think even more so than politicians. So they fought very hard to get it, and it's an honor to give it to Huntsville. Pete, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. As usual, right place, right time, for the right reason. In your first iteration, you established the Space Force at a time when we knew we had to be looking to that domain of space. You also reestablished SpaceCom to ensure that priority was put in place, and you, through the Air Force, independently identified that Huntsville, Alabama was the right place to put it. For other reasons, in the next administration under Biden, they decided to move it somewhere else. Well, during that time, the DOD Inspector General, the Government Affairs Office, they did their own assessments, and where did they say SpaceCom should go? Huntsville, Alabama. So what you're doing today, Mr. President, is restoring it to precisely where it should be based on Space Force, the Air Force, your leadership believes will give us strategic advantage in the future. That is Huntsville, Alabama. We are way ahead in space, but this will ensure we stay leaps and bounds ahead because that's the most important domain. Whoever controls the skies will control the future of warfare. And Mr. President, today you're ensuring that happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Katie, would you like to say something?
Mr. President, we are grateful for your leadership on this and restoring Space Command to its rightful home in Huntsville, Alabama. This delegation has worked together, both chambers, both parties, to make sure that Huntsville was the place that Space Command called home. As was mentioned, obviously the Biden administration chose to make this political. What we want to do is put the safety and security of Americans first. We want to make sure that our war fighter is put first, and we want to make sure that America continues to lead. And today, Mr. President, you've allowed that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tommy, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great day for our country, not just for our state of Alabama. We need help in our military. We need to catch up. And as Secretary Hegseth said, we're not behind in space, but we know where we're at, and we need to expound on that. Now, this move will save the taxpayers $480 million. It's not going to cost more. It's going to cut $480 million. We have the plans intact. It'll be behind a secure wall in Huntsville, Alabama at Redstone Arsenal. We have 40,000 people there. We have the FBI there. We have missile defense there. We have NASA, Blue Origin, and SpaceX. It is the perfect place for Space Command. I would tell you today, and I've spoke with the President for the last 3 or 4 years about this, if I thought it needed to go somewhere else because I understand the security of our country, I'd be for that. But the best place for Space Command is Huntsville, Alabama, because what we have and what it means to this country is going to be so important. So thank you, Mr. President, for this, and we look forward to building a huge Space Command and having the Donald J. Trump Space Command Center in Huntsville, Alabama.
Sure. Well, Mr. President, thank you. I'll be very brief here. I lobbied the President hard to put it in Ohio, but he said these people behind us, these Alabamas, are just too powerful and too persuasive. And so it's in Alabama, but as Tommy said, this is exactly the right place for Space Force and Space Command. I think Americans ought to appreciate the fact that you can't win the battle of the future unless you control the skies. The cyber security, the communications, the entire infrastructure of the battle in the 21st century will be in space. So it was a visionary move in the first administration for the President to set up Space Force, and I think an equally visionary move to make sure that Space Force is right where it should be in Huntsville, Alabama. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, anybody want to say anything? Would you like to say?
Mr. President, another promise made, another promise kept. You think about it, Redstone Arsenal is critical to national security. The president said when you were the 45th president, let's do what's right for national security. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. It's not because of this or that. It's because it's right for national security. You think of the 21 categories that were evaluated to determine what was best for national security. All indicators pointed back to Huntsville, Alabama, and Redstone Arsenal. We have the right people at the right place at the right time. Mr. President, on behalf of the people of the 5th Congressional District and all of Alabama, thank you for keeping your word.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Anybody?
Let me just say, Mr. President, I want to say thank you. And thank you for doing this because it was the right thing to do. When they looked at all the numbers, Huntsville was the place to go, and like you say, it was unfortunately pulled out, but you made it right. So I want to just say thank you again for a grateful nation, and to the state of Alabama, we're very grateful. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mike,
Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Throughout history, militaries has always understood that whoever could hold the high ground held the advantage. Space is the ultimate high ground. And what we're doing with moving the Space Command to Huntsville is absolutely critical to our maintaining dominance in that sphere. And it goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do with the Golden Dome and missile defense to defend against anyone else who tries to enter that sphere. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. And obviously, national defense is a huge issue. And when you look at the scores, Alabama was #1. And for political reasons, it was moved out of our state. But Mr. President, thank you for making priorities the defense and the warfighter and the safety of this nation. And in the big, beautiful bill, that Golden Dome will be built in Huntsville, Alabama, and we're grateful for that. Thank you.
Listen, as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, I care very much about what's most important for our national security. And the president held a nationwide competition to determine where we should have this command. If y'all remember, at the end of that competition, where Alabama came in first, there was a lot of complaints from the other states who did not place well. He said, we'll do it over with new criteria to accommodate your concerns. Alabama came in first in that second competition. His Secretary of the Air Force reviewed the results, said it was fair, and the president named Huntsville. It was the Biden administration that decided to make it political, even though his own Secretary of the Air Force said it was a fair competition and it should be in Huntsville. So I want you to know I appreciate this president standing up and being strong and saying he's going to make this right and put it where it rightfully belongs, and that's Huntsville, Alabama.
Thank you very much. Good job. Appreciate it. So thank you all very much. You are going to leave me alone now? You're not going to call me anymore and talk about this subject, right? You promise? They'll start something else. But I just want to congratulate you. It's a very big deal. When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that, and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago, and our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing, and you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over. Do you have any questions, please? Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Cumberville talked about the cost savings
Yeah.
associated with this announcement. Can you talk about the strategic benefits by having Space Force Command headquartered in Huntsville?
Well, it just works because we have so much else there. And having a central, you could call it a central command, but it really is a command station. Also, even locationally, where it is, and when you think about flying distances, if you can save a half an hour as fast as some of these planes go and things go, and even the rockets go, if you can save by having the best location. So we went out, as you know, to experts, and we had 4 different groups of experts. They all said this was the best location. I also loved it from the standpoint, I know the people of Alabama, they are great people, work hard, and there's no games, and they're very proud of it. And I would say they fought harder for it than anybody else also. A lot of states, 5 states really wanted it, but they wanted it more. And I kid you not when I say that these people, they spoke to me a lot. That's all they wanted to talk about. They didn't want to talk about the weather. They only wanted to talk about moving to this location, moving to Alabama, Huntsville in particular. So we're honored to do it. They really wanted it badly, and they got it. Peter?
President Trump, something completely different, but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see you for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really?
I didn't see that.
You know, I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own, pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff.
I'm glad it's
Well, it's fake news. You know, it's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, you know. It's Labor Day weekend, so I would say a lot of people know. I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent. Go ahead, Peter.
Something else. We know that this country has a huge problem with school shootings. You've said that you're open to sending the National Guard anywhere. Would you ever consider sending an armed National Guardsman to every school?
Well, we have a big problem with school shooting, but we also have thousands and thousands of schools that run perfectly. You know, they talk about you can do things construction-wise, and that's really, I think nobody knows more about construction than me. You can build the construction doors. You can build what they call safety doors, where they lock on the outside, the inside, and every place else. Well, but if one of these lunatics happens to get through, then the police can't get in. Then they're looking for keys all over the place, and it takes a lot of disadvantages to doing, spending billions and billions of dollars and actually making it safer in some way for some of these lunatics that we're dealing with. But I don't think so. I've thrown out the concept. We have great teachers that love our children. The parents love the children. Teachers love the children too. And if you took a small percentage of those teachers that were in the military, that were distinguished in the military, that were in the National Guard, et cetera, and you let them carry, that's something that a lot of people like. I sort of liked it. They have to be studied, but they're trained. They know about weapons. You can't do it with every teacher because most teachers don't know, and But I always thought that would be an alternative. But it just we've had a lot of instances. Other countries have also. They have different kinds of problems than we have, but we do have. There's something going on. And it's a bad thing. Yes, please.
Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week? Have you spoken with President Putin in the past
I don't want to. I have learned things that will be very interesting. I think in the next few days you'll find out.
Will there be any consequences if there isn't some type of announcement of a meeting with President Putin and President Zelensky?
Yeah,
and what could those consequences be?
We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what they do and what happens. I'm watching it very closely. Last week, they lost 7,000, between the two countries, 7,313 soldiers, to be somewhat exact, for no reason whatsoever. And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, but, they're soldiers. I want to see it end. Yeah.
Mr. President, have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say about, we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with, they should have had the water coming down, like I said. You know, we had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to LA. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming to Los Angeles. If we didn't do that, and even the sheriff, the top law enforcement person in Los Angeles said, we could not have handled it without them. So that's what he said.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly just walking down the street in D.C. Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. They're booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad, really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out, hardcore criminals that will not be coming back anytime soon. And we're very proud of it. You know, to have our nation's capital lose every week. You know, it was like years, many years, where every single week somebody was killed for many, many, many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had, last week it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. And I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I say, yeah, we have a little bit of a crime problem. And we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful, and the police commission has been very helpful, and it's been a great team. And I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops, because you know what? The people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, except really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network. And they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African American, they were black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president sent in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country. And that includes Baltimore. I saw where Governor Moore was asking me to take a walk down the street of Baltimore. Well, Baltimore is a very unsafe place. It's rated number 4 in the city, one of the most unsafe places anywhere in the world. But, you know, we took care. This was a beautiful thing that happened in Washington because we showed that it could be done. And this wasn't just sending big, strong guys, and they are big and they are strong. You know, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court that had to do with sort of talent. It had to do with you are put down based on merit. You can hire based on merit. So merit for a soldier or for a policeman is strong, physically fit, having a certain ability, not a person that is woke and got the job through woke, but wasn't strong enough to lift a gun out of the holster, et cetera, et cetera. No, I looked at the police. As you know, last week I went over, we had a meeting there had to be 300 people, and they were all very impressive looking. And when the bad guys see them, they're not going to do a thing. And so I'm very proud of Washington. It serves as a template, and we're going to do it elsewhere. But Chicago is certainly going to be high. I would love to have him call. I would love the governor of Illinois. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, sir, we need help. It's out of control. And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone. I would love to have, I would say, Governor Moore call, because I watched him over the weekend trying to explain that Baltimore, what they need is housing. No, they don't need housing. They need to get rid of the criminals. These are hardcore criminals. You know, we took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it. And we're not going to have those people. Washington, D.C. is now a safe zone. It's a safe place. And you can walk, Katie, you can walk right down the street with, by the way, one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen, which is her husband. He was a football player for like 11 years in the NFL. He's a big person. But big doesn't mean anything when they have guns and when they have knives and everything else that they have, right? But you can walk right down the street, even by yourself, and you're totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a great thing. Yes, ma'am, please.
Mr. President, as you're calling on Democratic leaders across the country to work with you on crime, do you see your efforts here in D.C., including, for example, working with Mayor Bowser here as a model for bringing more bipartisanship in matters not only with crime, but also issues that matter to everyday American people's lives?
So Mayor Bowser's been great. She could have taken the thing, oh, well, and then after I clean it up, they'll take credit for it. You know what they do is they take credit. Like, we cleaned up Los Angeles. We did a great job there. And it was overwhelming what was going on. And again, the police chief made a statement that we could not have done, there's no way they could handle it. You saw what was happening out there. It was going to be a disaster. We stopped it cold. If we didn't do that, would have been a very sad day. And you know, remember, we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, we have all these things coming, and we have 250, all of these things coming. But I watched Newsom get up and say he's doing a great, he's not, we're the ones that did it, and that's okay, whatever it takes, but the main thing is but he got up and said, we did it. Well, he didn't want us there, and he's going to need us again because it's starting to form again. I see it. It's starting to form again. You know, we have to maintain. It's like maintenance on an airplane. You can buy it, but you have to maintain it. And if you don't maintain it, a good plane becomes very unsafe very quickly. So it's an honor to do it. A lot of presidents wouldn't do what I'm doing. I don't need this heat. But when I watched television last night and I'm watching the news and I see that 9 people were killed in Chicago and 54 were badly wounded with bullets, I say, that's not this country. We have to do something. And I do say this, I say this very much. I'm not speaking to anybody but them right now. I would love to receive calls from governors and mayors saying they need help. We'll help them. We have a lot of people. We have a great force. We have a great military force. You know, Pete will tell you that when I was running for office, and this was a big headline, I think, you know, probably got me a couple of votes, but you couldn't sign people in the military. Nobody wanted to join the military, the Army, Air Force, the Navy, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard. We never forget Coast Guard because they've done such a great job. Never. But nobody wanted to join any of them. We were way below what we wanted. Every single one. The closest was the Marines, whatever that is. You'll explain that to me. But the closest was the Marines. But every service was way down, way down. And then I got elected, and our country's the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. Everybody's talking about the USA. They're talking about the job that we're doing. Everybody. We have the best economy. We have a very, very important decision being made by the Supreme Court because our country is the richest, the strongest, the most powerful. But if for some reason some liberal court, I'm talking about the court that just ruled, where even an Obama judge voted in favor of us, which I gave him a compliment yesterday, as you know. I said that took great courage. But it's a liberal court, and it's going up to the Supreme Court, who I think have been incredible people. I think they've made very wise decisions. But the tariff question, because without the tariffs, this country is in serious, serious trouble. We've taken in almost $17 trillion of investment is coming in. Most of it is coming because of tariffs. And if for some reason somebody wanted to be politically correct, I actually think it's unpolitically correct. I think politically correct is to approve it because there's nothing so popular as what's happened to our country. Our country is doing so well. But we had a liberal court gave us a very shocking ruling, and that ruling is basically saying that the trillions of dollars that are pouring into our country, putting us in a position like no country is anywhere in the world, that they'd like to see us that taken away. By the way, a lot of the people behind that lawsuit, that particular, are from foreign countries. I might add.
There's a video that is circulating online now of the White House where a window is open to the residents upstairs and somebody is throwing a big bag out the window. Have you seen this?
No, that's probably AI generated.
So
Actually, you can't open the windows. You know why? They're all heavily armored and bulletproof.
So that's a fake video?
Well, it's got to be because I know every window up there. The last place I'd be doing it is that because there's cameras all over the place, right, including yours. No, but every window, I've never seen a window that's, in fact, my wife was complaining about it the other day. She said, love to have a little fresh air come in, but you can't. They're bulletproof. And number one, they're sealed, and number two, each window weighs about 600 pounds. You have to be pretty strong to open them up. No, that has to be, where was the window? Let me see.
Maybe from the renovations?
Which is the window?
It looks like this is on the 15th Street side, I think.
Yeah.
So right here.
Yeah, those windows are sealed. Those windows are they're all sealed. You can't open them.
What you were saying regarding the federal.
It's the kind of thing they do. And one of the problems we have with AI, it's both good and bad. If something happens really bad, just blame AI. But also they create things, you know, it works both ways. If something happens that's really bad, maybe I'll have to just blame AI. But there's truth to it because I see so many phony things. I saw something as I was growing up from the time I was a baby till now. I said, who did that? It was AI generated. So it's a little bit scary, to be honest with you. But those windows are all very heavily sealed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to follow up with what you were saying regarding that federal appellate court that ruled against you and your administration as it relates to your ability.
Well, they ruled against our country, the court, and they ruled against us before. It's a very liberal court.
You called it highly partisan in your
Well, it
social
certainly
media
is. It certainly
and in
is.
fact, it was along ideological lines, 7-4.
Well, except that we actually got one of the Obama judges that was appointed by President Obama voted in favor of the tariffs because he felt it was imperative for our country to thrive and survive even. And I gave him credit. I said, you know what? That took a lot of courage for him to do it because you don't see that often.
So my question is, I suspect you're going to appeal that all the way to the Supreme Court.
Well, we already have, yeah. In fact, we're doing something else. We're going to be going to the Supreme Court, we think, tomorrow. because we need an early decision. I mean, look, the financial fabric of our country, we're a rich, incredible country right now, and we're able to, you know, other countries use tariffs on us for years, and we never did. I did a lot during my first term, but then we had COVID and we had to focus on other things. You couldn't be tariffing Italy, Spain, France, as they were dying by the thousands and millions. But we did with China, and China paid us billions and billions of dollars. And I started the process, but then I had to end it a little bit because of COVID. We focused on that. But no, it's a very important decision. And frankly, if they make the wrong decision, it would be a devastation for our country. We've taken in trillions of dollars. And by the way, all these countries signed agreements. As an example, they're all happy. Everybody's happy. But some whack job put in a lawsuit. It went before a very liberal court, and the liberal court ruled, it was 11, they ruled 7-4, with one of the most liberal of them all voting in our favor because they're patriots. I think I give tremendous credit to that judge. And now it's going to the Supreme Court. Now we're going to be asking for early admittance. We're going tomorrow, and we're going to ask for an expedited ruling because, you know, when you look at the stock market's down today, the stock market's down because of that, because the stock market needs the tariffs. They want the tariffs. If you look at AI, all of those, you know, all of that money that's going to be invested, trillions and trillions of dollars, the biggest thing, bigger than the internet, I suspect. It's the internet plus 3 or 4 other things combined. We are leading very substantially with AI. We're leading because of tariffs. We're leading because of talent, and this is where they'd like to be. But without the tariffs, we wouldn't have a chance because we wouldn't be able to protect those investments of the companies coming in. So if you took away tariffs, we could end up being a third world country. That's how big the ruling. So we're asking for an expedited ruling.
As a backstop to that, President, you have a Republican-controlled Congress. You control the House. You control the Senate.
Yeah, but we don't have 60 votes. We don't have 60 votes. I'd love to do that. Oh, if we had 60 senators, if we got the 60 votes, we would get them. But we need 60 votes, and we need, you know, a certain number in the House. I think we'd get, I don't know, we have about 5 of them here. Would everybody agree with me on tariffs? Without tariffs, we're a different country. We have taken in so much money. And here's the thing. We signed a deal with Japan. They're paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. We signed a deal with South Korea. We signed a deal with the European Union. We signed a deal with Europe. And those countries are paying us $950 billion. And they're happy about it. They're okay. As one of them said, it's amazing that we got away with it so long. One of my friends, a leader of one of the countries, and they're fine with it. They all signed. If that ruling ever went against us, I guess we'd have to give back hundreds of billions. We would have to give trillions and trillions of dollars back to countries that have been ripping us off for the last 35 years. And I can't imagine it happening. On a legal basis, they have no legal basis whatsoever. But on a common sense basis, it would destroy America. Okay.
We talked about controlling the sky. On Sunday, the satellite signal of Ursula von der Leyen's plane was alleged.
With Ursula? Well, she had an interesting event. She's a tremendous woman. And so what are you asking me about her?
NATO is concerned about an attitude about this.
Sure, NATO is concerned about it. Well, nobody knows where it came from, but they did take away her ability to use a phone. You know? Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that could happen to me. I'd be very happy.
Mr. President, reducing the tariffs on India from 50%.
What does that mean?
Are you considering taking away some of the tariffs that you've imposed on India? You had posted.
No, we get along with India very well. But India has, you have to understand, for many years it was a one-sided relationship. Only now since I came along, and because of the power that we have with tariffs, India was charging us tremendous tariffs, about the highest in the world. They were about the highest in the world, number one. And we, therefore, weren't doing much business with India, but they were doing business with us because we weren't charging them. Foolishly, we weren't charging them. So they would send in massive, you know, everything they made, they'd send it in, pour it into our country. Therefore, it wouldn't be made here, which is a negative. But we would not send in anything because they were charging us 100% tariffs. And, I'll give you an example, Harley-Davidson. Harley-Davidson couldn't sell into India. There was a 200% tariff on a motorcycle. So what happens? Harley-Davidson went to India and built a motorcycle plant. And now they don't have to pay tariffs. Same thing as us. So what we're doing is literally thousands of companies are coming into the U.S., car companies, AI, but, more traditionally, car companies. We have so many car company factories under construction or being designed right now. And they're coming from China, they're coming from Mexico, I must tell you, and they're coming from Canada, a lot of them coming from Canada. But they're coming into our country because they want to build here. And they want to build here for two reasons. Number one, they'd like to be here. And number two, the tariffs are protecting them. And number three, they want to avoid paying tariffs. When they build their cars here, they don't have any tariffs. When you build here, you don't have any tariffs.
Mr. President,
Go ahead,
in light of the Minnesota shooting last week, the Department of Homeland Security is now awarding more than $100 million to hundreds of faith organizations across the country to help them ramp up security. What's your vision for further protecting religious liberty across the country amid incidents of threats and violence?
Religious liberty is so important, and we're talking about every religion now. And we're doing things on that nobody else has ever done. And we're going to be having a big announcement in about 2 weeks on that question. Yeah, please.
On Space Command, sir, are you concerned that people may not be willing to relocate from Colorado to Alabama?
No, I'm not worried. It will get somebody else. The problem with Colorado is they have a very corrupt voting system. Look, I have so many friends in Colorado. Anytime you have mail-in voting, you have corrupt elections. Very simple. It's very simple. Even Jimmy Carter said it with his commission. They set up a commission with him and Scoop Jackson and some people, highly regarded people. And they said the finding was, if you have mail-in voting, you will have corrupt elections. Well, your radical left governor decided that he was going to have all mail-in voting in Colorado. Once you have all mail-in voting, and for whatever reason, the Democrats cheat. And they cheat like, they're not stupid. That's the only thing. They're no good on policy. They're no good on management. They're no good at government. But they're great at cheating. And they stick together, too. I give them credit for sticking together.
Mr. President,
please.
Obviously, this is a big win for national security, moving this to Alabama. We've all can agree with that.
Big.
Is there any idea of the economic impact this has on the state and on that local area?
Katie, do you want to answer that?
Look, go ahead, George.
Please go.
This is going to be tremendous. The state of Alabama, what we've seen through this process is the worst of Washington. We've seen politics get in the way of what is best for the warfighter, what's best for national security. And the state of Alabama is about to show the country the best among us. So we know the economic impact is going to be tremendous. There at Redstone Arsenal, we're proud to house everything from the FBI to headquarters there for material command to a number of things. We obviously have NASA with Marshall Space Flight Center, and so this naturally fits within. When you look at the decision matrix that they placed in front of us, that's why we ranked so high, is because we have the resources necessary and the ability to build out quickly to meet the needs in front of us. As far as economic impact, it would be tremendous. Does anybody have an exact number? 1,600 jobs.
3,000 spin off.
With 3,000 spin off. Look at this. This is teamwork right here. So we are really proud, and the people of Alabama are ready to get to work.
And I've got a housing question, if you could, just for a second, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
please.
Owning a home and going about the American dream seems like it's out of touch for a lot of Americans. Just recently, you pushed out a statement about addressing an emergency housing situation.
That's right. We're thinking about doing that.
Yeah, can you just...
Well, we need a little help from the Fed. We have a man named Jerome Too Late Powell. You probably heard of him. He's too late. He's way too late. And the economy is so strong that it's pushing through that. Normally, it would have been much tougher, but we're doing so well that we're pushing through it. But it makes it very hard for people to get mortgages because too late is too late. Very simple. He's too late. And probably political, whatever. He wasn't too late before the election. Before the election, he was cutting rates, right? Because he was hoping that, I guess, Biden would get in or that Kamala would. He was a big Biden guy. Explain that one. And then he was a Kamala person. But he was hoping, I guess, she'd should win, I guess. I don't know. It didn't work out too well. But, yeah, we need a very serious cut. You know, I think that if you look back many decades ago, the United States was always the lowest, even if they were doing badly. The United States was, because without the United States, everything in the world would die. It's true. It's so powerful. It's so big. And I made it really big in the first 4 years. Then it started to degenerate with what this Biden administration did. But we built it up to a level that I never thought we could be at this quickly. We're the hottest, we're the best financially. The money coming in is so big because of tariffs and other things, but because of tariffs. Tariff gets us even those other things. Plus, it gets us great negotiators. I settled 7 wars, and numerous of those wars were because of trade. And numerous of the trade deals that I made were because of tariffs. It gives you a great negotiating ability. If that ability were taken away from us by a liberal court acting on essentially foreign nations asking to get help from the United States government, when they've been doing this to us for 40 years, that's why we have $38 trillion in debt. We won't have it for long if they let us, if they allow us to do what everybody knows we should be able to do. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, another Biden-era action that you're now reversing is that you signed a deal last week to make federal buildings adopt and embrace classical architecture styles again. Can you talk to us about why you do that, and also what's your vision?
Well, we want to see beautiful buildings. Now, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder. I've seen architectural reviews over the years. I'm an expert at it. I've gotten a lot of great reviews. But I've seen buildings that I didn't think were very good get great reviews, and I've seen great buildings get bad reviews. So, but it's just a standard. We want to have a good standard. We're building something here, you know, for 150 years they wanted a ballroom at the White House. We're doing something at the highest level, using great architects and all. And, you know, it's very exciting. But we have a lot of interesting things happening architecturally in D.C. And D.C. is like a different place. And, you know, even the contractor said, sir, we walked down today, we feel like much safer. It's like a different place. Washington, D.C. is great. Now, we're going to also beautify it. We're going to put a topping on the roads. We're not going to rip them apart and take 4 years to build a road that was exactly the same by the time you build it. But we're going to put toppings. We're going to put new medians in. We're going to get the graffiti off. We're going to put tiles up in the tunnels where the tiles are missing. We'll do the whole tunnel instead of, you know, a little area where you see new tiles, old tiles that never look too good, but they could use it. You know, they've been up for 50 years. They've served their duty. But we're going to make this within about a 20-mile radius from the White House. We're going to have this place spick and span. It's going to be crime-free, and it's going to be spick and span. It's going to be, you'll be proud of Washington again. Go ahead, please.
Sir, China's having a massive military parade that President Putin and Kim Jong-un will be attending. Do you interpret that as a challenge to this? And are you concerned at all about those countries trying to be some sort of counterweight? Not at all.
China needs us, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi, as you know, but China needs us much more than we need them. No, I don't see that at all, no. And I had actually a very good meeting with President Putin a couple of weeks ago. We'll see if anything comes out of it. If it doesn't, we'll take a different stance.
Everyone March today in California ruled that your deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles was illegal. Do you have any response?
Well, it was a radical left judge. But very importantly, what did you not tell me in that question or statement that you made? Pretty much of a statement, I think.
Well, I was asking for your response.
No, you didn't say what the judge said, though. The judge said, but you can leave the 300 people that you already have in place. They can continue to be in place. That's all we need. But why didn't you put that as part of your statement? Because the same judge ruled exactly as you said, except the judge said that you could leave the 300 people that you already have in place. They can stay, they can remain, they can do what they have to do. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So there you have it, folks. President Trump making various remarks today, including the announcement of the U.S. Space Command moving from Colorado to Alabama. The president saying that this is in part because of Colorado's mail-in voting system. We also have him announcing that he does plan to appeal Friday's ruling that blocked the country-specific tariffs that the Supreme Court had weighed in on. We're going to take a quick break, folks. By the way, I'm Vanessa Rufus. We'll be back together again after we take this just a 2-minute break. All right, welcome back, everyone. Once again, I'm Vanessa Rufus, taking over for Nick Sturdivant here in the Live Impact News studio. We're turning now to a new feed that we've got. Looks like we've got Senator Chuck Schumer speaking on the Senate floor. Senate just convened about 40 minutes ago.
Answer to that deep down in their hearts, including my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, even if they won't dare say it aloud. They're afraid of him. They know he threatens them and brandishes everything over them. Egos are often part of the territory in politics, but I have never seen a bully in the Oval Office with such a nakedly fragile ego. Earlier today, I got to see that ego in all its ugly glory while I was driving to the Capitol. Driving past the Department of Labor, I got to see, as many others have, the massive banners that have Donald Trump's face airbrushed on them. A number of these banners are going up all across Washington. For generations, Americans have looked at these kinds of images and laughed at them, snickered at them, because they're such obvious signs of deep insecurity. Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Putin, Kim Jong-un, and other bullies throughout history have depended on these images because they were desperate to seem powerful and important and untouchable. Yet, here we are, America, 2025, and we have an insecure bully in the Oval Office who orders his sycophantic cabinet secretaries to grovel to him at cabinet meetings. Have you ever watched one of these meetings? It's embarrassing. Who can suck up more to Donald Trump as he beams, even though what they're saying has very little truth? And how about adorning the face of buildings in our city with his picture? It's laughable that Donald Trump says he wants to make Washington more beautiful, and yet at the same time plasters his face all over our buildings, these beautiful buildings that have been built for so long and stood for so much to so many. And you know what else is even more pathetic about this president? Pulling a power grab in red states and trying to redraw maps. And why is he doing it? Because he knows the American people reject his agenda. He knows that the American people are ready to punish his party at the ballot box because his proposals are so harmful to people. No president who thinks he can win by virtue of his ideas alone would feel like he must rig the rules and pick his own voters instead of the other way around, the voters picking him. Yet that's what Donald Trump's doing right now, pushing Republicans in Texas and in other red states across the country to gerrymander their way into power, to rig the game because they can't win the game fair and square. I ask again, have we ever had a president so pathetic, so pathological as Donald Trump? Finally, Mr. President, no discussion of Donald Trump's incompetence and lies would be complete without talking about health care. Now, what is Donald Trump's signature domestic accomplishment? Tell me, what is it? He would say it's undoubtedly the so-called big, beautiful bill, but Americans are learning every day, more and more Americans learn that it's nothing more than a big betrayal. Big betrayal. The biggest cuts to health care and food assistance and good-paying jobs in American history. Donald Trump's signature feat in office is throwing people off Medicaid. Can you imagine? To make life better for those at the very, very top. He's destroying the ACA marketplaces, sending costs skyrocketing for millions of Americans. They're going to learn about this as early as next month. And who are we kidding? We know that Medicare is next. We all know his Treasury Secretary gloated that they found a way to hurt Medicare in the so-called big, beautiful bill. I was in New York last month, and I spoke with countless New York doctors and hospital managers and nurses and parents and patients who are frustrated and worried that hospitals will close, costs will go up, people who need coverage won't be able to get it. The mom who has a daughter with cancer and can no longer get help and watches that child suffer, and the mom suffers too. Thanks to Donald Trump and Senate Republicans, health care costs are going to increase for every American in the country. And it's not just, you say, well, I'm not on Medicaid, I'm not on Medicare, and the ACA. Even people with private insurance will see their costs go up significantly. Rural Americans will see their hospitals close. It's happening already in states like Nebraska and Maine. And this isn't theoretical, it's real. And meanwhile, while all this devastation is going on, we have an HHS secretary, instead of looking out for the health care of American people, he's firing thousands of federal workers, he's canceling medical research, and he's promoting cod liver oil supplements to treat diseases like measles. This is crackpot nonsense. My Senate colleagues know that. What RFK Jr. is doing is dangerous. The damage RFK Jr. is causing right now will be felt for generations, and so many of our kids and grandkids will suffer. More of our kids will die from preventable diseases. The damage will be long-lasting. Donald Trump should fire RFK Jr. immediately. Senate Republicans should come out of hiding and demand Trump fire RFK too. They see the damage. They read the insane things he says day after day after day. They know the immense harm RFK poses to our kids the longer he stays in place. Every second that RFK is running our healthcare system is a healthcare crisis of its own, and he cannot be allowed to continue to lead this agency. So, Mr. President, in conclusion, the challenges I've mentioned today are just a few that plague America. They are a result of Donald Trump's pathetic leadership and his incessant lies. And I lay all of this at the feet of my Republican colleagues. They could stop it. I ask my Republican colleagues, will you join us in making things right, in putting a stop to Donald Trump's madness, in protecting our kids, in lowering costs, in setting America back on the right track, and making our neighborhoods safe? Or will you keep bowing down before the throne of Donald Trump, the erstwhile king? We ask you not to turn your back on the vision of our founders, not to let America slide down the road to autocracy, And that is an expensive autocracy, for that matter, where Americans pay more and more and more for rent, electricity, groceries, things like that. Senate Republicans can't pretend they're helpless against Donald Trump. The majority in this chamber, the majority, could very easily undo what he does. They have the power to rein in his worst impulses. Republicans just need to make the decision for themselves to act, to stand up, to put the needs of people back home ahead of Donald Trump's narcissistic wishes. We have an opportunity this month, to start setting things right by advancing common sense legislation to protect our health care, to hold the line against Trump's abuses, and to reverse the immense harmful Medicaid cuts that Trump and Republicans pushed in the summer. Will Senate Republicans continue to kowtow to a leader they know is dragging the country down, they know is a pathological liar? Or will they, as the Founding Fathers intended, stand up to him? Will they help us fight America's slide into authoritarianism? Will they help us give the American people some hope in the future and prevent their costs from continuing to rise? This month will tell us in which direction they choose. I yield the floor.
Senator Chuck Schumer once again making statements on the Senate floor as Congress has just reconvened after a month-long recess off during the month of August. Of course, top of the agenda, trying to avoid a looming government shutdown at the end of the month. We'll be right back after this quick break. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us here for Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We're going to turn now to your weather impacts of the day and over the course of the next several days. Here's meteorologist Chris Mulcahy.
Hey everyone, a beautiful day today, just like yesterday, but there's one big difference, the clouds. We have additional cloud cover today. Yesterday at times was barely a cloud in the sky or just a couple of those upper level cirrus clouds. Well, now we have a mix of the mid to the upper level clouds. A lot of those fair weather cumulus clouds just showing that the weather is fair. So copy and paste yesterday's low and high on today, more clouds and still feeling just as comfortable. Now, yesterday was technically a little bit on the drier side, but we're splitting hairs here. 81 degrees has been a popular temperature as of recent. Sunday, yesterday, and now again today, we're hitting 81 degrees. Surrounding areas to the north still in the upper 70s, but this is a great range to be because it feels great. Now, our dew points were down in the 40s yesterday. That's even better than the 50s, but anything below 60, as long as you don't have a 6 in the tens place, you're feeling okay. But that humid air is trying to make a comeback, and it will be here by your Wednesday night heading into Thursday, and Thursday is going to be the big difference as we see things start to ramp back up. Really, Thursday through Sunday is going to be the most humid days, but Friday and Saturday stand out from all the rest. Those are also going to be the hottest days as well. Overnight tonight, I think we're going to clear out the skies, so should see an ample amount of sunshine. Yet again, Venus is going to be rising up before the sun, so you'll see that bright planet in the sky lower in the horizon before the sun rises up just shy of 7 o'clock. But the moon is a waxing gibbous, 73% illuminated. That officially actually rises up at 4:47 today. The cool thing about that is it's greeting you during the evening. I don't know about you, but when I see the moon during the day, it's just always a nice little special treat. Almost full as well, and officially full September 7th. So this quick little astrology throwing in with meteorology today. 59 degrees by tomorrow. We've been 58 the last couple of mornings, and then we're going to see temperatures ramp back up, even back to around 70 degrees on Saturday before we return to the lower 60s. A lot of ups and downs on the way. Tomorrow, Ghost Peppers. It's a 12:30 match, and this is actually going to be the last game, or the second to last game, that's going to be at this time for the season. So if you like to watch baseball during the day, this is going to be a good one. It's not overly hot as well. High temperatures in the lower 80s around Gastonia. Winds barely blowing. Our rainfall chances are going to try to hold off for your Wednesday. I still kept an isolated rain chance around. I think that's more so during the evening. Better chance for an isolated storm on Thursday, and the same thing for Saturday and Sunday. But today, Friday, and Monday, don't worry about it. No rain. Over the next 36 hours, here's the changes. We've had a high pressure system that's protected us overall. That's still going to eat up some of the rain as it starts to work its way a little bit closer to home. And then once these fronts get a little bit close to us, that's where we have the potential for a pop-up storm. Not right away, though. Today, I'm just going to move on because there's not much really to mention. By tomorrow morning, we're seeing an increase in clouds. Some of us will be starting off mild, likely in the 60s up in the foothills just because of that cloud cover. That rain is hovering right around the mountains, and then it's really mid to late morning that it starts to move its way off towards the east. Active light rain right around Taylorsville, and then it dissipates before it gets to Charlotte. So Charlotte likely seeing another dry day, mix of cloud and sunshine during the afternoon, but then moving towards your Thursday, we have isolated pop-up showers and storms. Not much on the map, so not a big rain chance, but it's going to be out there. So the unlucky ones that get a storm could have a quick downpour. 7-day forecast showing that upward trajectory into the upper 80s, feeling like the lower 90s, and the lower 90s actual air temperature could feel more like the mid 90s during the middle of the afternoon. An isolated rain chance as we mentioned, and then for your Sunday and Monday, seeing those temperatures hovering right around the lower 80s. So a lot of ups and downs, feeling more like the end of September, then back to July, then back to the end of September. Enjoy the ups and downs the next week of September. Take care, everyone.
All right, looks good there on the weather front. Looks like we also have here on the Senate floor more discussions that are getting underway. We've got Illinois Senator Dick Durbin making an address right now. Let's listen in.
Back home in Illinois, there's one item of news when it comes to Washington, D.C. When or if Donald Trump is going to send in the troops. In June, President Trump deployed the military against American citizens when he sent National Guard troops and 700 active duty Marines in Los Angeles in an attempt to crush protest against his administration's cruel immigration raids. Last month, the president took the unwarranted step of federalizing Washington, D.C. police force and sending thousands of National Guardsmen to patrol our nation's capital. For months now, President Trump has been looking for any excuse to send National Guard troops and active duty forces into American communities. And over the past few weeks, he has boasted that, a quote, Chicago will be next. Let me be clear. This would be yet another dangerous, illegal, and unconstitutional abuse of power by President Donald Trump. The president claims his actions are meant to drive down crime and restore order, but all they have done is create a political spectacle, political theater. He ignores the reality that violent crime is down in the District of Columbia and in Chicago, and he ignores the fact that under our Constitution, the power to maintain law and order belongs to the states, That doesn't matter to Donald Trump. Only thing that matters to him are the optics, continuing to push the limits of our Constitution and the rule of law as he abuses his office. Using the military to occupy an American city in the absence of an emergency politicizes the institution, erodes civilian control of the armed forces, and places unnecessary burdens on service members, families, and employers. There are also troubling reports that federal law enforcement officers could operate out of the Naval Station Great Lakes, where the Navy trains thousands of new recruits a year. We are so proud of the Great Lakes Naval Training Station. Every single member of the United States Navy on the enlisted side goes through basic training in our state in the Great Lakes Naval Training Station. My brother, who was a volunteer serving in the Navy in the Korean War, went through that training in his day. It is a magnificent facility, and over the time that I've served in Congress, in the House and the Senate, it's been my honor to make sure that it's the very best training center in the world. Supporting law enforcement is not the core mission of the United States Navy or the National Guard, and it distracts our troops from preparing to respond to real threats from our adversaries around the world. We were just notified recently that there have been secret plans underway for a long period of time. The Pentagon has been developing plans for military deployment for weeks. The plans reportedly include several options, including mobilizing thousands of National Guard troops this month to restore law and order, so to speak, in areas where they're cracking down on crime, homelessness, and undocumented immigration. But in most instances, legal and constitutional instances, the use of federalized troops or the use of federal troops requires the approval and consent of the governor of the state. That is not the case, certainly, in Illinois. It also takes a financial toll on our readiness. We're going to start considering the National Defense Authorization Act this evening here in the United States Senate. It's an important bill, one of the most important, and it has a history of always being passed every single year. I hope we can maintain that kind of commitment. But that bill is passed and popular and bipartisan because it does something that is critical. It authorizes the funding for the troops that defend our nation. We work long and hard on it. I'm not a member of that committee, but I know they spend hours in debate on each and every provision of the bill, then come to the floor and are subject many times to amendments on the floor. It takes a week or sometimes two or more to get it done, but it's that important. Why do we spend so much time? To make sure that our military has the money that they need to keep